And this is what I offer you, the Liberian people. The other universal truth that I want to share with you, my fellow Liberians, is the best predictor of future performance and future behavior is past performance and past behavior. And again, I ask you to look at my record of job creation, of success, of managing large budgets without one penny going missing. All of these things you can look at and compare to the other candidates. And again, you will see that my past performance and past behavior is a good predictor, a good indicator that what I commit to, we will deliver. There are 5 priorities we have, and we call that the what's. And then there are 5 things we call the how we'll do it. And those priorities are as follows. Our first priority is infrastructure. Simply put, it's electricity, it's roads, it's water, and it's internet and cell phone connectivity across Liberia. We have to invest in infrastructure. That is the top priority. That's the basis on which we can and will do everything else. The second priority for us is job creation. There are too many unemployed, underemployed, and unemployable Liberians. The unemployment rate is over 85%. And therefore, job creation is our next priority, creating jobs for the Liberian people. Our next priority is agriculture. We are a country that do not fear ourselves. These are things we can do for ourselves. We should be producing rice to feed ourselves. And my commitment is that by the end of my first term in office, we will be self-sufficient in rice production. And within education, we are focused on vocational training, teachers training, and adult education. But we have to educate our young people because, again, that's how we can help them create jobs. That's how we can train farmers. And so these things are all linked together. And our final priority in terms of the what's is health. Because you can have good infrastructure, you can have a good job, you can feed yourself, you can have great education, but if you don't have your health, it doesn't matter. And so health is our 5th priority, and there we're focused on primary health care and preventive health care. So those are the what's we'll do for our people, for the Liberian people. How are we going to do these things? The first how is we want to engage Liberians differently in the transformation of our country. We call this hearts and minds. How do we get all Liberians to participate in the changes that are required? We're going to use arts and music and culture and reconciliation and religion. All of these things, we will be deliberate in using these things to engage us as a people in this transformation process. And so we're doing some work on how we can make those things happen. The next how is that we're going to find the money. We have to find the resources, the money, to do all of the what's I mentioned earlier. And the way we'll find the money is first, we'll go after waste in government. You know, we spend a lot of money on things that we don't need, or we pay too much for things that we do need. So for example, I believe the vehicles we buy for our government officials, we spend too much money on that. We should reduce the number of vehicles, and we should buy less expensive vehicles for our government officials. We need to reduce how much they make so we can pay teachers and civil servants and police officers and the military officers and healthcare workers, people who actually do the work. We need to pay them more money and reduce the gap between those at the top and those who actually do the work. The other way we'll find the money is going after this thing called corruption. You know, corruption has been the bane of our country. Is the primary reason why we are as underdeveloped as we are today. And we will aggressively go after corruption. The first thing we'll do is we will appoint a corruption czar, a minister in charge of corruption in the presidency that will coordinate all of the agencies that are meant to find corrupt officials. Secondly thing we'll do is we'll make sure we are giving the resources, the money, the right people, the right logistics to the anti-corruption agencies, the LACC, Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, the General Accounting Office, the Public Procurement and Concessions Commission. We will make sure they got the right resources to go after corrupt officials. After that, when we find people who are corrupt, we will prosecute them, we will put them in jail, and we'll seize their assets. It will not be good enough for you just to resign. Okay. So those are the things we will do to really go after corruption. I have committed that I will not take a salary. The salary that is paid the president, I will allocate it towards helping to fight corruption. That's how important I think it is to us. And then the other way we'll find the money is we'll make sure we're getting full value, the full monies we're due from our natural resources. We'll look to exploit other natural resources so we can get the funds required to fund healthcare, to fund infrastructure, to create jobs, etc., etc. So finding the money is the second how. The next how is we want to create a government of inclusion. We want all sections of our country to be represented in the government. We want opposition political parties to be in government because we believe that having a government inclusion will help all of us make the right decisions. It will make sure that we're spreading the resources of our country across the entire country. And then the last two hows, one is growing the private sector. We will focus on growing the private sector so Liberians can primarily benefit from that growth. No longer should Liberian business people be spectators to our economy. And we want to actively support Liberianization and encourage and provide credit and other facilities to Liberian businesses so they can participate. And last but not least, we will use technology. We'll leverage technology to help us achieve our goals. So those are the what's and the how's. But let me end by leaving you again with these two universal truths. One is we cannot keep doing the same things, my people, and expect different results. We cannot keep electing the same people with the same experiences and expect Liberia to change. We need to elect and select different people to lead us, to serve us, to help us manage and run our country. And the other universal truth is the best predictor of future performance and future behavior is past performance and past behavior. And on those two counts, I believe I stand head and shoulders above the other candidates aspiring. Together, we will change Liberia for the benefit of all Liberians. We will transform our country. We will give us a new start, a fresh start, so that all of us can benefit from this country we love. I thank you. God bless you. God bless the Republic of Liberia. The first elected female president in Africa. The first and only African female to head the United Nations General Assembly. The first West African to publish a book in English. A leader in the formation of the regional bodies to include the Organization of African Unity, or OAU, now the African Union, or AU, the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, and the Mano River Union, or MRU, and the list goes on and on. We should be proud, and I congratulate us Liberians for our contributions and endurance over the last 174 years. Unfortunately, and despite our resilience, tenacity, and hard work, the conditions Liberians are living through do not reflect the age of our country. We have not managed ourselves and our resources as well as we could. We have not been as accountable to each other
as we could. We have not invested as we should in building strong human and institutional capacities. And of course, we have not invested in improving systems and processes for continued democratic governance and guaranteeing Liberia remains an independent and inclusively developed nation. As a result, too many Liberians are very poor. Common and treatable illnesses continue to kill too many of our women and children. We are losing too many to the inadequacies and lapses of a broken system every day. May we now have a moment of silence for the many who have lost their lives to COVID and the recent ship that sunk on its way to Maryland. As we observe 174 years, the reality of the challenges faced by our people is clear. The moral compass of our society is broken. Too many of our young people are unemployed, and for some are unemployable. The cost of living is unbearable, forcing too many proud Liberians to become beggars. Corruption is pervasive. In distributing the nation's wealth, a few have continued to receive more than they need, while the many who desperately need more have continued to be given too little. Liberia is experiencing the worst economic conditions in a decade, with continued dismal performance in the key macroeconomic indicators, such as real gross domestic product, or GDP. Unemployment and inflation all continue to be unacceptable. For example, according to the International Monetary Fund, in 2019 and 2020, real GDP recorded negative growth of 2.5% and 3% respectively. Of course, we can blame the COVID-19 pandemic, but mismanagement, lack of accountability, poor planning, and corruption have continued to haunt the administration of our government. Some of our leaders continue to invest themselves in dividing Liberians, mainly along the line of tribe, religion, gender, and political association. Meanwhile, across all Liberian tribes, religions, and political parties, the living standards have continued to worsen. According to the World Bank's latest statistics, Liberia's 2020 real GDP per capita, which measures living standard, is the lowest it has been in a decade. In the United Nations Development Program Human Development Index report, Liberia was ranked 175 out of 189 countries in 2019. Things are bad for everybody, and it is only getting worse. Unemployment is high. Annual inflation is averaging over 20% in the last 3 years, seriously reducing the purchasing power of Liberians, particularly those who cannot afford it. In April of 2021, the Central Bank of Liberia released its monthly economic review, which indicates that Liberian dollars in circulation is 22.6 billion. Out of this amount, 20.8 billion, or 92%, represents currency outside the banks. There is only one logical explanation for this. People do not trust the banking system. Confidence is low. This is the price we have to pay when we politicize the banking system and corrupt it into systemic and other administrative failures. These failings, combined with non-performing loans of 26.9%, pose a high risk to the stability of the nation's financial sector. God has blessed Liberia with an abundance of natural wealth. Yet, at 174 years, we continue to beg for budgetary support, including from nations far less endowed than we are, and whose public officials and legislators are paid way less than ours. We are so rich, and yet we are so poor. Too many are suffering, with more than half of our population living on less than $1.25 a day. At least 7 out of every 10 Liberians in urban areas lack access to improved water, improved sanitation, sufficient living space, or housing durability. At 174 years, our infant mortality rate is about 84.6%, which means out of every 1,000 newborn Liberian, 846 will probably die before they reach 5 years old. At 174 years, only 1.3% of Liberians living in rural areas and 34% in urban areas have access to electricity. At 174 years, our nation still cannot feed itself. Somewhere between the Declaration of Independence and today, somewhere between the Declaration of Independence and today, we have lost our way. I know we do not need these grim statistics from the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and other international institutions to prove this point. Too many Liberians are actually living it every day in the worsening conditions of finding food, finding jobs, caring for their families, paying rent, paying school fees, paying hospital bills, and keeping a roof over their heads. At 174 years, Liberia is a difficult place. Regardless of who we prefer to blame, the truth is that we are all in serious trouble. At 174 years, Liberia does not need some of us. Our country needs all of us. At 174 years, our country does not need to settle more ethnic and political scores. It needs all of us to work together to achieve higher national goals. At 174, Liberia is too old to have hospitals with all the essential medicines and diagnostic equipment, while officials of our government with the responsibility to correct this are themselves seeking treatment in neighboring countries or farther abroad. If the government cannot fix the hospitals that the people they serve will go to when they are sick, no officials of government ought to seek medical checkups or treatment in a foreign hospital at government's expense. Therefore, fix the hospitals or use it as is. At 174, Liberia is too old to have its schools offering inferior and substandard education to our children. If the government cannot provide for the improvements of schools, then no official of the Liberian government ought to send their children to attend schools abroad. So fix the schools or send your children there too. Liberian children are amongst the brightest in the world. I see this every day at the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, or STEM, school funded by the Cummings Africa Foundation. Our children deserve more from the government to be better prepared to inherit the future and compete with children from other countries. At 174, Liberia is too old to continue to allow greed and corruption to substitute for the duty of public accountability and integrity. In both 2019 and 2020, Liberia recorded the lowest scores, representing high level of corruption, reported in the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index since 2008. Our country is too old to view honesty in public service as naivety, and to let ourselves continue to lose the duty of citizenship to partisanship. At 174, Liberia is too old to continue to allow our politics to be about tribes and religions. All of our tribes and experiences make us Liberians and must never be used to divide us. Instead, our politics must be about ideas. Ideas to improve and empower Liberians. Ideas to build our country and manage our wealth better. And ideas to finally end the things that have continued to keep us downward and backward. At 174, Liberia is too old to continue to run an economy that prioritizes others and gives Liberians no chance. Liberians cannot continue to be onlookers and bystanders to their development. At 174, Liberia is too old for the institutions of our government to continue to be weakened by lack of independence, sycophancy, as well as systemic leadership failures in transparency and accountability. We must end the imperial presidency. We must end the imperial presidency. At 174, Liberia is too old to be standing still, if not sliding backward. It is a national shame that we have fallen so far behind other nations we are assisting and inspired towards independence. Fellow Liberians, I know we cannot change our past, but we can create our future. We can create our future. To do this, we must change the mindset that got us to where we are today. We must adopt a new national perspective that Liberia belongs to all Liberians. All Liberians, therefore, owe a duty to the country to be good citizens, to work as hard and as honestly as we can to make Liberia better for ourselves and for our children. Good citizens do not steal from the people. Good citizens do not deceive the people. Good citizens stand for what is right for the country, even if they anger a few friends and political allies. The fundamental duty of citizenship, of belonging to Liberia and being called a Liberian citizen, is to build a better country. Obedience to the law is a duty of good citizenship. Good citizens take responsibility and accept the failures of getting it wrong as they will accept the failures of getting it right. National leaders, political, religious, community, and traditional, must be more accountable to each other and to our country. Leaders must lead by good examples so that others are encouraged to follow. We will not grow until we allow our visions, expectations, dreams, and aspirations to also grow. Therefore, national goals must be bigger, allow us to set ourselves higher, and extend our collective endeavors further. In corporations or governments, there are no shortcuts to success. Irrespective of tribe, family name, the name of the village or city in which a Liberian is born, or the choice of one's religion, success in Liberia must come to belong to every Liberian who is willing and ready to work as hard as they can to achieve that success. Opportunities must be fair and equal and equally available to all Liberians. Too often in our country, we have let ourselves settle for what is easy and for what is not right. We have continued to choose the path of least resistance, which neither tests our collective resolve nor deepens our commitment to achieve the future we seek. Too often, we have wanted change, but have let ourselves be frightened by the hard work required to get the changes we seek. Too often, we have wanted change, but have let ourselves be frightened by the hard work required to get the changes we seek. Too often, we have allowed ourselves to compromise easily rather than set good precedents and examples for the future. Unfortunately, as we have continued to settle for the easier road and look for the shortest cuts, change has never happened. Promises of change have been repeatedly broken, and doubts about change ever happening now overwhelms us. We are overtaken by the negative self-fulfilling prophecies looking to give up when we should be standing up. In our national conversations, I hear echoes about what we cannot do instead of what we can, must, and should be doing. Change is hard. It requires hard work and determination, and it takes time. But like success, change can happen. Liberia can be better. We can build a prosperous future for all. We can unite ourselves. We can expand our economy. We can grow the national budget. We can fight corruption. We can genuinely reconcile our fractured nation. We can heal the wounds and pull ourselves together. We can end the culture of impunity and establish a war and economic crimes court. We can fix our schools, fix our hospitals, fix our roads, so that the movement of people, goods, and services are unhindered throughout the year. We can feed ourselves and export our surplus to the world. We can manufacture and add value to what God has naturally blessed our country to have. We can electrify villages and towns just as we're trying to do in Monrovia, because Liberia is much more than Monrovia. let there be no mistake. We will not do these things overnight, immediately, or magically. But we can do all of them if we work together collectively and took responsibility for the development of our country and refuse, for example, to sell our natural resources cheaply or for kickbacks, and refuse to engage in the mismanagement of our wealth. At 174, there may not be much to celebrate, but we can begin to write a new chapter in a journey of Liberia. The next chapter can inspire the world again, because we can let the new statistics reveal that although we fell, we refused to remain down. Although we fell, we refused to remain down. We stood up, and together we forged new roads and found different paths to a better and more prosperous future for all Liberians. That we became good to each other and treated each other with love and respect. That we put our love for country above our love for personalities. That we honored excellence and frowned on mediocrity. That we became a beacon of hope again. The next chapter can show that although we lost our way, we found a new way and found ourselves again. The new story of Liberia can be that although the Lone Star was lowered, together we raised it again for all the world to see. A new Liberia flying higher and shining brighter. Happy Independence Day, fellow Liberians. Please stay safe. May God continue to bless you, and may God bless Liberia. Thank you very much. The Alternative National Congress, the ANC, have been threatened with arrest and are currently on trial before the Monrovia Magisterial Court at the Temple of Justice. We have been ridiculously charged with forgery and criminal conspiracy. The accusations underlying these charges are totally false and completely baseless. Our accusers, Mr. Benani Ure and his All-Liberian Party, the ALP, and the government of Liberia, know these charges are baseless and false. We also know that Mr. Ure and the government of Liberia are not alone in this conspiracy to lie and tarnish our heart and reputation and integrity. Sadly, to break up the CPP, Mr. Ure and the government are being cheered on by other leaders of the CPP. These leaders are afraid that we will defeat them in a CPP Democratic primary, the process we agreed to use to choose the standard bearer of the CPP. These individuals, aware that they will lose to us, now want to break their promises to the Liberian people, but are too cowardly to take responsibility for breaking up the CPP. Hence, they are joining with the government to contrive a lawsuit against the CPP after almost 2 years of its continued existence under the same set of rules and obligations which applies to all parties, including the ANC. Feeling betrayed? Of course we are disappointed. But we are not afraid of these accusations, nor are we worried by the hypocrisy. We know the truth is on our side. We have assembled a team of great lawyers through whom we are confident the truth will be revealed, the hypocrisy will be exposed, and we will win and be vindicated. However, I'm concerned about the misdirection of our country, the conspiracy to politically prosecute opponents, aided and abetted by some members of the opposition, is bad for our young democracy. With blood, tears, and treasure, Liberians paid too high a price for our democracy, for the right to freely and fairly choose our leaders. Too often, we have allowed ourselves to think that politics is not our collective business, that it should be left to the politicians while we go about tending our daily private lives. Well, politics also determines the conditions under which we will go about our daily private lives. In fact, it determines whether our lives will be private, safe, secure, and peaceful. Politics controls everything, including how we live and what our future will be. This is why when the government begins to act dangerously, provocatively, and unfairly to threaten our peace, privacy, and democracy, we must wake up and pay attention. We must stand up and express our strong disagreements against this public wrong, because it is dangerous for all of us. When the government does the wrong things, even under the pretext of politics, in the end, it affects all of us. It affects our freedoms and our rights. It affects our economy. The prices of commodities, including rice, dry fish, palm oil, clothes, shoes, just to name a few. It affects the opportunities our country needs to attract foreign investments and thereby create jobs for Liberians and for Liberian businesses. It affects our cost of living, from kerosene to fire coal, airtime for our telephones, which is already too expensive. It affects the cost of rent and building materials. Everything is affected when the government puts its hands in the wrong type of politics. And so, the right politics will lift up our nation, just as the wrong politics will pull us down. From mosques to churches, civil society to traditional communities, and from schools to marketplaces, we share the duty not to help the wrong kind of politics become the order of its neutrality. The courts should referee our democracy, not be used to destroy it. Democratic governments do not abuse the courts or try to get them involved in political matters. But this is what is happening here. This is what this we-are-led government is doing. They are doing this to exclude me, but the actions will also affect each and every Liberian citizen, because it is your right to choose the leader you want that is being denied you. If this government is conniving to lock away its primary competition, it means 2023 will be a joke rather than a chance to seriously change the direction of our country and improve the lives of our people. The Way administration, with the help of some of our opposition friends, are conniving to come after me because they know I and the ANC represent a different threat. We represent a serious commitment to change the corrupt political system. They know that I and the ANC are the only ones with the integrity to say what we mean and mean what we say. And they know we will keep the promises we make to the Liberian people. In order to target me and the ANC, the others would gladly break up the CPP and will not lose one night of sleep over breaking their promises to the Liberian people. While lying to our people and breaking promises are normal for many in the current system and for some in the opposition, it goes against the very fabric of what I and the ANC believe and stand for. This is why they have trumped up these false charges against me and the ANC. This is what this trial is about. This is wrong politics. And all Liberians need to pay close attention to this and join us in acting and speaking out against it. In 2023 and beyond, Liberians have a right to choose who their leaders will be. In 2023 and beyond, Liberians have a right to choose who their leaders will be. Neither this government nor its favored opposition candidate has any business deciding for the Liberian people who they would like to run against them by politically prosecuting the candidate they are afraid of so as to exclude him or her from the electoral process. There are many examples all over the world where this type of behavior is practiced, and it has led to some of the longest running and most devastating regimes and conflicts in the world. In such situations, the people who suffer most are the everyday citizens, and those who benefit are those at the top. The right to choose our leaders is not one of the rights we gave to the government to exercise on our behalf. Therefore, the government conniving to do this is a violation of us and an abuse of the powers we have constitutionally given them. In times such as these, we must not remain on the sidelines. We must not remain silent. The right to choose our leaders every 6 years or in any election is a right we the people continue to constitutionally withhold for ourselves. Through this trial, again, this is wrong politics, and it is dangerous for the peace of our nation. A famous historian once said, "Great events do not happen overnight." This is true. It is the little wrongs that happen every day, which when allowed to go unchecked, eventually breaks into big wrongs, which are often too late to be checked or stopped. This is why I'm asking all of us to pay close attention, to be concerned, and to speak out now. To speak out now. This government removed an associate justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia and effectively frightened the judiciary. Now they are conspiring to choose who they would prefer to run against in 2023. We must not let them succeed. Imagine one of the greatest football players in the world, and his quote-unquote world-class team are scared to face my new squad because they know we will beat them any day of the week. So rather than be embarrassed on the pitch, they are trying to have my team disqualified because we would take, before we even take the field. Disqualified before we even take the field. I, Senator Natin, and Attorney Toh are in the docket at the magisterial court, but make no mistake, the citizenship rights of every man, woman, and child of Liberia is on trial. Justice within our beautiful borders is on trial. The democracy for which our grandparents, parents, brothers, sisters, and cousins bled and died for, voluntarily and involuntarily, is on trial. Our right to choose a leader and a real change in the direction of our country and the lives of our people is on trial. This is our chance to decide the future of our country. This is our chance to redefine ourselves. This is our chance for a better Liberia. Let us not miss this chance. Let us not miss this chance. Whether we will be a weakened opposition in 2023 or a strong resistance to the corruption and failures of the Weah-led government is on trial. Whether we will continue to accept the mismanagement of our country's natural resources, by which we continue to be counted among the poorest and most corrupt nations on earth, is on trial. We cannot choose to be silent and uninterested, or the outcome will certainly haunt all of us. We will all continue to suffer. We will all continue to have to struggle for work. We will all continue to beg to feed ourselves. We will all continue to have to live with the shame and embarrassment that we picked a leader who continues to fail us again and again while enriching himself and his friends. Now is the time to stand up. Now is the time to be heard. It is not enough that we only wish the right things to happen in our country. Now is the time to make the right things happen. History has shown that the continued silence and inaction of any people will only feed the dangerous wrongs leaders selfishly perpetuate against the people. Now is the time to act strongly and decisively so that we do not enable the resistance of a discredited system to overcome our desires for real change. As I've often said, change is hard. The people who are benefiting from the corrupt system will naturally fight against those who want to change it. We handed them the nation's wallet, hoping they would invest for us. But all they have done is taking money out of our pockets. Liberians are worse than spectators to their own economy. We are not even in the VIP section, stadium wing, or around the field. In our own country, we are on the outside of the fence looking in and begging for tickets. Those who want change cannot just stand by and watch. Real change requires all of us believing, speaking, and acting for it to happen. Often, for real change to happen, people have to stand up and stand together. We have to act strongly and speak decisively. Regardless of your tribe, religion, gender, or party, I know deep inside we can all agree that our country must change. We must change the direction of Liberia and improve the living conditions of our people. We simply cannot continue in this leaderless, irresponsible, and corrupt way. My fellow Liberians, for too long, we have been divided by tribe, gender, region, religion, and political party. But let us not forget, suffering has no tribe, hunger has no religion, struggle has no gender. That is why the poverty we all see and experience every day cuts deep across every tribe, every gender, every region, every religion, and every political party. One thing is abundantly clear: from our shorelines to our eco-rich forests, from mines filled with untapped gold, iron ore, and diamonds, to potential offshore oil reserves, Liberia is too rich for Liberians to be so poor. Liberia is too rich for Liberians to be so poor. From right here in Monrovia to the remotest villages and towns across Liberia, everywhere I go, it breaks my heart to see our people living in such poor and inhumane conditions, and to hear their stories of repeated hopelessness, broken promises, and despair. We are too old to be the better nation that we are, unable to feed ourselves and looking for handouts from the rest of the world. While our leaders steal and plunder the nation's wealth, too many of our mothers are dying at childbirth and from treatable illnesses because of a poor health delivery system. While we waste resources and our leaders are lavishly gloating in ill-gotten wealth, too many of our children are dying before they reach their 5th birthday. Our leaders are partying and enjoying themselves. They are building new homes both here in Liberia and abroad. They are buying themselves expensive vehicles and sending their children to fancy schools, while the government is failing to support our schools. Our schools are then failing our children, and too many of our children are dropping out and being left too far behind with no future. Enough is enough, my people. Enough is enough. Too many of our old and retired citizens are forced to become beggars, with little to no care for the disabled and others with disabilities. Our government should be looking to take care of its elders. Yet, we continue to lose our way, to lose our values, with leaders taking no responsibilities, showing no vision, no leadership, while too many of our people are suffering, giving up, and dying. Again, enough is enough. Enough is enough. My fellow Liberians, I know too many of you have given up on change. For too long, promises have been made only to be broken. For too long, you have been promised equality in the distribution of the nation's wealth, only to see our leaders make themselves rich and richer as Liberians become poor and poorer. Doors of opportunities are being shut in your faces because you happen to belong to a tribe or a religion or even a gender. The stealing from the people has only gotten worse and worse. Well, this too is why they fear me. I am not a typical politician. The government knows it cannot bribe me or shut me up. My friends in the CPP know I'm dead serious about the promises I make. My track record of results speak for themselves. My opponents know they cannot frighten me or blackmail me, not even with false charges and political prosecution. They know this because all I am interested in is helping to change our country for the better, to make us do the right things, because it will make Liberia better. And they know I mean it. And so, today, I ask you not to lose hope. Now is not the time to give up. Like they say, when evil men connive, good people must unite. If you think things are bad, or if you are unhappy with where our country is, or if you are tired of your living conditions, all across the various tribes, regions, religions, genders, and parties, if we don't stand up and act together as strongly and as decisively as we should for real change, I assure you, things will only get worse. And it will not just their children tomorrow. Wake up today for your future and the future of all of our children. Stand up. Stand together. Be heard. Be seen. Liberia needs all of us to get better. And all of us need a better Liberia. God bless you, and may God bless Liberia.
Another city operation. The government does not know the plight of their citizens. They do not know how their citizens are suffering in this place. They had no good leadership in this government. The government had no good leader.
But over the period, we saw police chasing people out of here. But
Police are saying corrupt people. They are all MCC. They are not even police. They are Jefferson Koji police. They are not police. We don't know them. They are Jefferson Koji police, city major of this city.
So you are not being allowed to
do another city operation.
How are you coping with the mandate? You are not being allowed to do your regular business, but you are still here. How is it like for you?
I'm coping with them. They told me to not go on the street. They said they're facing the road. And I'm not on the road. I'm far on the road.
Why so that means you still doing your business smoothly?
Yeah, I do my business not smoothly. I have myself and do my business.
So hiding yourself to do business, is it preferable?
Yeah, but for now, I gotta feed my family. I guess only to do to support my family.
Did you vote for this government? Did you support this government?
If I vote for the government, I'll be a damn man. I would not vote for the government in my life because they had lack of leadership ability.
So when you say lack of leadership in terms of what?
They do not know the plight of their citizens. Even the president does not know his role.
But the development of this role is an advantage.
Yeah, we want development. We need development. But since July, last year, July 10, up to now, and they shot this thing. You take 1 year, and the phone is in your hand. This phone is a World Bank project.
And they also took several times to relocate people from here. Are you also considering
Yeah,
that?
even when we relocate us, this Rela market is a commercial center of this Republic of Liberia.
So that means it should
biggest
remain
market.
as it used to be? Is that what you're saying? It should remain as it used to be, overcrowded, overpopulated?
I'm not saying that it should remain overcrowded, but you cannot take everybody from this Rela, so no stores are there. Business people will always be around.
Okay, so that's the issue. I think that's why they decide to close the stores temporarily.
Yeah, but when you close the store, I mean, stopping people from coming to Rela.
How do you think the road construction work can go on safely or smoothly if people are still
If you
here?
are not around, you see the barricade down there. You see the barricade when there's some rival when they're facing it. The another channel or Japanese government were facing it. Were you there? You saw the road how they were facing it. You get demarcation where citizens to pass, and the citizens were passing were all hindrance. Why they can't do the thing? They carry the road from Program Factory. Then people were setting a red there. They put demarcation. Demarcation where the people were setting, and they see not facing the road. But it's your politics on the day. People had a store, Jesse Koji and the public minister. They had a store, the Omega. The first people to go there, there's a politics on the whole thing. They had their stores, operating.
So to conclude, what would you like to say?
Let us say the government, this government had the tours and the business people of Liberia. We don't want the business people of spectators. The economy. But now we are spectators who are going to grow up all of business.
Where is about development?
Where is the development? The development can complete. While the phone is still there. So, they spend the phone, they want to put blame on the business people.
Are you aware that before, development take place, there's also be, probably a disruption or destruction?
Yeah, we agree, but when you disrupt your citizen, you should tell them what's speedily. You know that it plays a commercial area. Everybody will not live on this place. Go down demarcation that a citizen will live, send their children to school. But through the business, they will create fund to send our children to school if we are family.
So if you don't make business for 1 week, or maybe there were no specific day set up, maybe that you come back to your store or your late shop or your booth. If you don't make business for the past and maybe hard yourself, what will lead to your
If I don't
family?
make business for 1 week, it affected me.
What effect how you?
Why effect? You know why effect?
I want to know. I don't know what effect how I want to know.
How the children will eat. How the children will eat. How the children will eat. How I send them to school. How I pay their transportation to go and come. Great effect.
All right. What your name?
Sabi Yuma.
Thank you, Mr. Yuma. That be your young man.
How are you?
Welcome. Your name?
How do you feel about this entire closure of schools in Red Light?
Actually, I feel disappointed.
In the government?
I feel disappointed in the government. I feel disappointed even in the judicial system. They even making laws for us themselves.
But this is a huge development. The construction of the road is a huge development. Are you also not considering that?
You know, development is very good. But if you see with what the government doing, they are going beyond, the man. Because if I see my distance, where I do my business, and what the government is carrying on a development, I have no intrusion into the government and development.
Have there been improvements since the ascendancy of this government in your business?
Have there been what?
Have there been improvement in your business since the coming of this government?
I see too much depreciation. Improvement. I think I've been depreciated.
And why is the cause of the depreciation in your
What are
business?
the challenges?
Like, when things were normal, I said normally my customers, that used to know my direct business area, no more know that area. So everybody there scatter, and there's no way to get each other to do this. So it gave me a lot of time, a lot of hard time in my business.
So what you want to tell about? What's your recommendation?
I want to tell the government, not everybody will see into governmental part. Not everybody will get government job. We are entrepreneurs. our businesses, that what we rely on. So that is do the development and leave the business people. That would do our business. We never study politics. So these things we are doing for the interest of our family and the benefit of ourselves. So these things are not good for us to be giving all our time.
I would like to say in conclusion, to conclude, what do you like to say?
I would like to say I'm a Liberian. I love development. But in so doing, I need to survive. If the development go on, the army survive, I think it'll be a waste. So that the government leave me to survive, and that carry on the development. I get no problem with it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Y'all come to them, man.
Welcome, Chief. Your name?
Nathan, this time is my name.
What do you sell? What are you involved in?
I do business exchange, money exchange.
How has it been like this?
Very difficult, especially with the exercise. The first exercise, the second one, especially the third one, where you have no prior information. The project scheme because they in authority, they feel that they on top of things, air conditioned car. They just take, a public or decision to do something that can favor them. We the citizens, they don't care for us.
So, don't you see the construction of the road as a major reason for this issue?
Let me tell you something about development. When you say development, men like us, we should be developed before. We talk about this is an infrastructure, right? Development comes with building the minds of the youth. When our mind is built up, our youth, let's take the youth. So our mind should be built up before we talk about infrastructure. Infrastructure building is something that just standing, but for human, as a reasonable government, you should think how your citizens, love your citizens living first, build up them first, before you talk about infrastructure.
Are you saying infrastructure development is not important for Liberia now?
It's a very cardinal point.
Is it not important for Liberia?
It's important. I'm not negating that fact.
But personal development should be prioritized.
It's not personal. I'm not talking about personal development. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying development as a whole, then without impacting your citizen.
That's why I said personal individual, you should be capacitated.
Yeah, as citizen, not personal to me now, as citizen as a whole. You know what I'm saying?
So you support this government?
If I support this government,
are you a citizen?
I am not. I am not.
If you were to rate this government performance, at what percent do you rate?
From 100, I give it 30%.
30%.
Yes.
Why?
Because it's low. The reason is simple.
We have construction of markets, roads, clinics,
Schools, and
so forth.
Granted, markets always are constructed, right? So what the impact? Let me explain to you. You constructed a market at Omega. Now the market is in the water. More almost under the market. So what will be your impact? Markets are refusing to go in the building because of the condition of the place.
In the building outside.
At the aspect of the building, before getting into the building itself, you have to walk in the water or in the mud before you enter the building itself. So what the impact?
But it's obvious that place is a small area.
But then you take that as into consideration of government.
Consider, okay, are you considering the dollar market?
Dollar market as heard. Dollar market as I heard. Though I have never went there. But it's still all the same. The same problem that Omega, they go abandon the entire market. They are not down. But yes, I see the information I got.
Are you disappointed in the public
Very disappointed. 100%. My recommendation to them is this. What they started doing for this, those are supported and have voted for them before. Let it carry on. Let it continue to depress it, let it suppress it.
You should suppress you.
so this is still suppressing you, right?
Yes.
Until 2023.
Yes, let it carry on.
And you will surprise him.
That's what I'm saying.
This is
2023
your
was there.
second term for the CDC-led government.
Second term, CDC. First round, they can't even win it first. First round, will be out. I'm talking about second round.
So what's the name again? Mr. Tengman, thank you for talking to us. Thank you. So you listen to them. It's very much painful, sorrowful indeed. Like you listen to some of the business practitioners, business owners, stores owners expressing disappointment in this government, expressing disappointment in the Ministry of Public Works, which has been headed by the Minister Ruth Cummings, and expressing disappointment also in the Monrovia City Mayor Jefferson Tamakoji and so forth. And they also allege, remember that they also allege that the Public Works Minister and Mayor Koji have a store, a business center in the Omega Belt, but we're going to dig beyond that. Seriously, we're going to dig there. So those of you just joining, this is SKTV. We're coming to you live from Red Light, outside the nation's capital, Pinsville, where Governor of Liberia temporarily shut down store with no immediate date set aside for the reopening as well. So as you can see, the place head of scatter and so forth. We are here. Those of you like Adam Sano, if you just joining, we were facing some problem with our internet, but so I didn't paste the airline, but we are in Real Light, where yesterday the Public Works Ministry, in line with the Monrovia State Police and the Police Support Unit (PSU), enter Real Light and start to turn down. I mean, try to tell violators or send violators, who be violators, to the Omega market, sellers as well, to the Omega market to go back and do business there. And temporarily stores were being shut down. That meant they were being released by the Public Works Ministry, which has been headed by Ruth Cummings, the Public Works Minister. On grounds the roads that leave from EW Junction passing through Red Light and heading to the Parker-Payne Junction needed to be completed, but they attribute the cause of the incompletion of the road project as to marketers, retailers coming in, outside of Red Light or outside of where the construction is taking place, that of which are post-up to the process. So they deem it necessary that the marketers leave the place and go back to Omega as the company kick off the completion of this one important road project, so that it can be completed as well. So as you can see, we are live here in Red Light, and my name is Abraham Cully. I'm broadcasting live from Red Light, outside the nation's capital, and as you can see, stores are closed. Stores are closed. This is the much talk about Hash store in Red Light, Mr. Hash store in Red Light. As you can see, it's closed by now, and some of our family heirs are expressing disappointment in their grievances, their disenchantment in this government. I mean, some of them are saying government is not proceeding the right way. There's need that they reconsolidate, or else they're going to take action comes 2023 at the ballot box, where they're going to reject the CDC comes 2023. As you listen to the last speaker, and also second to the last speaker as well, expressing their deepest sorrow, or explaining the pain that they are going through if they are not able to find remedy to the situation. Will cause serious harm to their family, because some of them are inhaling in terms of doing their businesses, carry on their businesses, where sometimes when you're transacting with your customers, police or city police or PSU guy will want to come and hijack your goods and take it away. So they are doing business. When they are doing business in closed door, like the foreign exchange bureau, some of them have some of their cash with them, and which of course is dangerous to exposing cash publicly. But what to do, according to some of them, they needed to do so to cater to their family, because if they don't do, how would their family eat? How would their family be well taken care of? How would they manage their home? So we're going to come back with a next broadcast that we will look at some of the key issues. Maybe we can look at the issue of the diet and so forth, because I'm seeing Ambassador Hearing is saying the area is dirty up. There is compare. Yes, it's true. We will get that. We will get back on another day to talk about the issue of the dirtiness of red light and so forth, and we'll make sure we visit some of those areas that is contaminated of compare with dirt. And the work of the Pinzio City Corporation, the work of the River City Corporation, the mayors and the mayor, they both need to combine in terms of making the city better.
To work towards where you want to be. Yeah. So today, you have to look at work.
So when you're telling them to leave, it's because now you've changed. Then now they say, "Hey,
that's okay. That's fine. As long as within yourself, you know you're doing it to get better, and you're not really putting someone else down or making them feel bad about themselves. But there comes a time that you have to think about yourself, because some people who are fun are people who will take you to your grave. You understand what I'm saying? You can't be laughing from Monday to Sunday. There's a time to work. There's a time to be serious. You must hang around people who challenge you, not people who laugh at your jokes all the time. People who will tell you, let's do business, not let's go and have shisha all the time. People who will say, people are thinking this low, we need to think that high. People who challenge you to be better academically, to be better as a person. You understand? But remember, there are people around you who are happy because you are playing in mediocrity or celebrating average success. You understand? When you are with people who celebrate average success, they're the ones who are holding the key to your mortuary.
Yeah.
So you have to say goodbye, go. If you want to be better, hang around people who are where you aspire to be. People who will make you feel naked. People who will make you feel less educated, not by them putting you down, but by being around them. People who, when you tell them you want to go on holiday, and you say you want to go to Mombasa, they say, no, we are going for a conference in South Africa for entrepreneurs. Not people who will tell you, oh, let's go and have fun, let's go and drink ourselves silly, let's go and sleep around. No, not at all. People who will challenge you by how they're living their lives. And you will aspire to get to where they are. And as you get to where they are, there are people behind you who will also aspire to where you are. So catch me if you can kind of friendship is what you need. Not let's be on the same radar. You know, I mean, if I want to be a good presenter, let me hang around you. I cannot hang around a radio presenter if I want to be a good TV presenter. But I'm not saying you hate them, but they're people you must love from far.
Are you saying that we want one thing, but we do another?
Absolutely.
So you want to be wealthy, but you also want to sit at home every day? You
want to be wealthy, but your mind is full of poverty. In fact, you are the headquarters of poverty, because it starts up here.
So you want to be fit, and you
don't go to
trim,
the gym,
but you watch gym videos while eating.
Yes. And that's where people are. Yeah. You picture this beautiful lifestyle. You picture this thing that you want to be. But remember, it's not an abracadabra. You must make some steps. Blood, sweat, and tears must be there.
And we need to want to work.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care. What has Mr. Weir done now? He has done everything. Taking picture here and there. But when it comes to the Liberian people, he hasn't done anything in regards to meeting the needs of the Liberian people. Is that the person you want, Prince Sharif? Are you still here, Mr. Sharif? Mr. Sharif, you must say in America here, right? We can get everything. Right now, I can walk to my fridge, get myself some water, get myself juice. We can feed our children. In Liberia, Une Samuel Tua can do that. Une Maggie can do that. But these are government officials. But for you and I, we are just the average Joe in America, as the people describe us to be, right? We can go anywhere and get things for ourselves. The average guy in Ghana, Sierra Leone, don't have to be part of the government structure. He can go somewhere and get stuff for himself. So what about our average brothers and sisters in Liberia? Why aren't they getting these things? What has we have done that any institution can come and defend here? I can open the floor right now. In fact, it's open. If you institution, you listen to me, send me a request right now. And come and tell me, in terms of electricity supply, what has Mr. We have done for the 15 counties? In terms of water supply, what has Mr. We have done for the 15 counties? In terms of health care, maintenance, and improvement, what has Mr. We have done? Come and give all the statistics here. Come and give all the results here. There's nothing Mr. Weah has done. Even in the soccer world, how many people? And let me say this to you guys here. People often describe Mr. Cummings, Mr. Cummings is a gay, Mr. Cummings is a gay. Let me tell you guys, some of you guys I don't know about Weah past life. All right? You see, in America here, people struggle to live a culture here. Yes, people struggle to live a culture here. Every place, America is so free that you can do whatever it takes as long it doesn't interfere with anybody's lifestyle. I remember when I worked at a manufacturing plant in 2012. This lady was living her private life. But her life was not the life that we used to in Africa. But guess what? She and I used to sit down together. We used to have fun. But she was different. Should I take myself from her? No. But it was a lifestyle that I was never used to. But because I found myself in a country, I had to work with her. Shake her hand. Listen to the conversation, because that's the environment I found myself in. I struggled with that lifestyle. There were days I couldn't believe it to hear some of the things they were talking. But that's the lifestyle I found myself in, and that what happened in this country. When you live in an advanced country where when they say democracy at the highest, that is the lifestyle that you live with. As long as it's not impacting you in a way you cannot control it. It's at work, you will see it there. Any organization, you will see it there. Even in a school, in the army, you will see it there. But that is the lifestyle that you got to struggle with. There's nothing you can do about it. Even if I tell you right now, my lawyer is living a lifestyle that I'm not happy with. But guess what? What I want, it can get done by that particular lawyer. So here we got doctors, we got engineers, we got football players, we got basketball players, we got all the different people then that live with that lifestyle. But we from Africa, from that background, we had to struggle with that living that lifestyle. So when you hear Mr. Cummings explaining on Mamadi Diateki show that, oh, it's a lifestyle that I struggle with, it doesn't mean that he was the way you're thinking he is. No. There are many Liberians. George Weah himself, when he was in France, in Paris, he lived among people who had a same lifestyle. Even though, for those of you that don't know what George Weah did, how many of you guys know when George Weah had GM Professional? How many of you guys can raise your hand right now? How many of you guys can raise your hand right now and tell me that when George Weah had GM Professional? How many of you guys, when George Weah had GM Professional, you know what people used to be telling us? That most of those boys that were on GM Professional team, they said George Weah wanted to sleep with them in order to send them to professional football. Alfred Dennis just said yes, he remembered that. I don't say they say. I will say I say, because I was in an age that I can still remember. All the boys that were on GM Professional team, they say GM Pro, that was George Weah team. They say for you to get on that team, George Weah must sleep with you. How many citizens talking there today? Let George Weah himself come here, let me make that story. There was rumor going around that before you play on George Weah GM Pro team, he must bend you over Am I lying? You bring John where he said, I can't talk it. You bring John where he said, I can't talk it. Because we used to live on 12th Street. When John Weir had a GM professional team. When John Weir was on that GM, I mean, he was child of that GM pro team. He would come from Italy. People used to say, before you join that team there, you must be loving the John Weir. But these were young men. How many of you know that story there today? Let's bring it outside today. And let John Weir himself come. And if you're part of the GM pro, you know what that thing broke down? Because most of the boys were not willing to go through that thing that was happening over there. None of the boys were willing to talk about it. But can we say Mr. Weir was a gay? Do we have proof? Or was that a Leicester that people were trying to pin it at? How do we know that? But we know that many of you guys in America here, you work with people who are gay. Whether that man, that woman, you see them in your place of work. You joke with them, you laugh with them. But it's a lifestyle that we struggle with in this country here. It's a lifestyle. When I was flying to Florida, let me tell you what I experienced now, saying I had to say it. When I was going to Florida, there was a guy on a plane. The guy dressed the woman, he got listed all here. When I first saw him, I thought he was a man, I mean a woman. I said, nobody can look at a man. But I didn't say anything like that in my heart. I just looked at him like this. I said, But what do I have to do? It was a lifestyle that I have to get used to. And I tell myself, I mean, in America, everybody can live anywhere they want to live here. As long as it's not embarrassing you. So I guess I'm there. Again, he said, I got water for you to drink. I look at the water for long. I like, damn it. And, because I'm from Liberia, and, we're not used to that kind of thing. But I look at it there, and the other white girl was sitting, because one white girl was sitting next to me. I know, I tell you about it. One white Jew was sitting next to me. One white Jew was sitting next to me. And the first time I tell my man, Atlanta King, I said, tell me, Atlanta King, yeah, that girl will be sleeping on his chest right now. But what I mean, no. We're just sitting there, 2 hours there. You look at there now, look at the other side. But the girl just threw her hand over me, and then she took the drink from the guy and drank. And, and I look at the whole thing and like, so I told my brother, But my fellow Liberians in this country here, there are different people than here. When we come from here, we got to go educate our people back home. That's what Mr. Cummings was trying to explain to Mr. Diateki. And everybody, the men are good, the men are dead, the men are dead. You can't do that kind of thing there. You can't do that kind of thing. We all struggle with that lifestyle. You live with, some of you guys just come here. What my sister Justina here? Justina, you just come to the country. Every day you talking about God business. You will be surprised, Justina, that the person said I call themselves men of God. They will be in that same lifestyle. Justina, the thing you never saw saying your man born you in the country here. You will see it. And you will think that devil live here. You know what's about the reason somebody don't go to church in the country here? That one of the reasons they are telling you today. Because of the people then, the lifestyle, you can think that they're not Christian. But that's why it is. But what we do here is we just mind our business. We just mind our what? Our business. Because that's the lifestyle that we have to struggle with here. In Liberia, our lifestyle here is different back home. We live our one-way life. We in one-way street. Everybody doing the same thing. But over here is different. And that's why Mr. Cummings was trying to educate our people on. But whoa, they took it away. So for the Joe Weir who had a GM Pro, now everybody said Joe Weir was sleeping with the boys then to get them a job to play football. How many people say nothing today in Liberia? Joe Weir did not come and say that lifestyle, but people were hearing it from him. So you got to be very, very careful how you misinterpret things. So going forward, we will begin to explain to you guys. Even a Mama Carter from the UN embassy will come on his own platform and say, look, in our country, anybody can live any life they want to live in America. When you come from different culture, you will struggle with it. You will struggle with it. The same way that you go to other country, the way the people behave in that country, not the same thing, but they got different culture. You will struggle with something that you're not used to. So you need to stop painting the thing different here. We got to focus on who will make that country better, not who will come and be telling you S, Y, and Z here. A man who married, got grandchildren and stuff like that. And you got to, oh, the men I did, the men I did. You need to start spreading those kind of messages in down there. It's different. So let me tell you now, everyone here, Prince Sherry, you're not working with somebody like they Prince Sherry. Why you can't talk it on your show? I don't know where my God Gilman working because I don't know where he's working, but even in my God Gilman neighborhood, there are some people like this. Why you can't come and tell your people then that look, this thing here exists in America here. We that living here, we live among people there who their timorousness says they can do anything. Some men can go to the hospital, they lay down and say, my man, just call that thing off and there, turn it to woman own. And they can come outside and we can work with them. We can work with them. That's the people's choice. That's the last time you think you know what it means for a man to go to the hospital and just get his break, get beat a day, and take out the whole thing, then the man comes out and say, my man, and that man again, and everybody say, what? Yeah, woman. Let me tell you one story here. One of my men in Staten Island, those that in Staten Island, New York, one of my men, the man went to a nightclub. He saw a beautiful Jew, a Latino woman. The man was living in the project. Brought the woman home that night. The woman told the man she cannot go through the elevator. And the man loved her. He must lift her up and go on the step. And they had to climb 5 steps, 5 levels. The man told that woman, up, up, up. When they got to the room, the woman told the guy, now I was one time a man, but I turned to a woman. The rest of the story, we'll tell that one later on. But he himself told all the story. So in a country here, there is a lifestyle that everybody struggle with. It only takes some honest people, like someone like Cummings, to come and tell you and everyone in Liberia. People can do anything in this country. It's their free will. It is their what? Free will. You see the daughter of Dick Cheney, who is now on the 9/11 Commission. She living a lifestyle that was giving her father hard time, Mr. Dick Cheney. Mr. Dick Cheney's daughter, who is now in the U.S. government. She is a lifestyle. She's from a Republican party that is very Christian looking like. But when they add Dick Cheney himself, yeah, that was, yeah, thank you very much, LRB guy, you. Thank you. Thank you. You heard us. You live in that area over there. That was Park Hill. Thank you very much. That story became a very laughing thing across all Liberian groups, whether on the football field, at pencil and stuff like that. But let me come back to what I was saying. One time they called Dick Cheney out. They said, Mr. Dick Cheney, you served as vice president 2 terms to George Bush. And you believe in the Republican Party religious value. But look at your daughter today. Look at your daughter today. And then, guess what? Mr. Dick Cheney said, that's the choice of my daughter. That whole lifestyle, I cannot change it. So, we in this country have seen a lot of lifestyle that people live. And we work with them. If you right now working, get the opportunity to work with Mr. Dick Cheney's daughter, who live that kind of lifestyle. Who live that kind of lifestyle. Will that make you to be somebody like her? No. But what you will do is you will struggle with that lifestyle. But yeah, Joe, we are on the other hand, who had a soccer team, that many of the boys then on that team were saying to people that Joe, we are slept with some of them. And Joe, we are wanted to sleep with some of them, and they refused, and he did not put them on the team. When Joe, we were running that team, they called Gion Professional. There was a story that was popping here and there. So what would George Weah say about that? Then somebody who work in a society, who work in a country, who place or work contain different people or different background. How do you manage that? And then when somebody come and tell us, say, oh, that's the kind of lifestyle that we live with in the country, we struggle with that kind of lifestyle. Yes, I do. I do all the time. I do all the time. I do all the time. We all struggle with that lifestyle in America here. There's nobody lie to you. I think it would be good for every Liberians to begin to inform our people back home and tell them that there are many lifestyles we struggle with in this country here. Because we are from a culture that things that we see here that we never saw in our country. And we struggle to live with it because we're not used to it. It is not our way of life. If we have our own way, we'll stop it. But we cannot stop it because we'll be violating the people's right. That's a human right. You can sit down. I have sat down in a conference room and people coming up. Some men will tell you, oh yeah, I just saw myself. Look at the guy they call Daniel Lemon from CNN. You think people not working with Daniel Lemon who are married, got their wife and children, but they still work with him? Right? Yes. They still work with him. But people ask them, but how you manage around that man? What are the less struggle I have to go through? That the less struggle I have to go through. Unless you want to tell me in a country where you're not working with people who live that kind of life. Many of you guys do those things. But it just takes how you interpret things. That's how I take it to be. And I'm sure some of you guys in the country are working with people at your place of work who are living different styles of life. But do you go around and say things to people? Oh, my man, I get, you know, you can't say that in the country. Yeah? But when a man asks you, my man, what you doing? I got looking at something. My man, don't say that thing here. Don't say that thing, I beg you. Don't say that thing here, my man. Now the country, everybody can live the life they want to live here. You know it. But the reason you will be a little bit defensive is not because you hate that person. You got to be able to explain things to the people. But the question here is, when George Weah was on that GM Pro team, was head of that GM Pro team, the team that he organized, there was a story coming out that Mr. Weah was trying to sleep with most of the young boys. But how many people said yes to Mr. Weah? And how many times did Mr. Weah come here to say it? Many of who were young that time remember very well that children used to talk about that GM Pro, but they said, George Weah got to sleep with you. It came a time people used to say George Weah was a gay. It came a time people used to say George Weah was a gay. Especially when you see the earring in the ear. Oh, that man not gay. And what would you say that before back in the days? Back in the days, when we see men with earring, oh, my man, that man not gay, that man not gay, that man not gay. But today now, a lot of people wearing it now. You can't see women earring all in their nose, men that got earring all here. Those are strange life we don't used to. We have to struggle to live with that kind of life. And when we go back home, we start to tell people, look, America is a very diverse culture of people. There are things people do over there that we don't let, but we have to struggle to live with it. We cannot infringe on the people's right because that's their right. We cannot do that. Even the English soccer league you watch in England, some of the players then now they coming on and they telling you, you know, that I'm this. What you got to say about that? Some of the English players that in the league, they telling you they're this. But that is the culture you find yourself in. And you got to live with that. You got to live with that. All you got to do is to come and tell people. So the whole coming is a gay thing. You're misinterpreting what the man said. And maybe some of you guys are not so fair to yourself. But I will say this, everywhere you live, everywhere you work, there will not be one Liberian in America here that will tell you they never found somebody who got different lifestyle and they struggle with that. Let the person just show me their hand. The only person I can relate to right now is my sister Justina, who just came to this country. But every one of us who been here for more than 2 years, we have seen things that we never saw back home. And we have to live with it. You close your eyes, you open it, stay there waiting for you. Yes, you close your eyes, you open it, stay there waiting for you. Because we all have lived here. And there you go, Anderson Cooper too. They got it called Chris Como. Chris Como is a very good friend to Dan Lemon. But Chris Como is married. He got his family. But Dan Lemon, on the other hand, even they asked Dan Lemon's mom, because they are from Louisiana. Louisiana is a gospel country. I mean, gospel state. They asked Dan Lemon's mom. She said, I don't know, but it is the lifestyle that my son wants to live. Because you see, when people live in a particular life, in America, they call it lifestyle. And you know, a particular life, they call it living a lifestyle. They asked the old man, your girlfriend, old man, she said that my son, it's a lifestyle that he's living, and I had to struggle to live with him on that. I can't do nothing. The basketball player they call Dwayne Wade, I think his son, is living another lifestyle too that he had to struggle with. But the people allow everyone to live their life in this country. And that's what Mr. Cummings was trying to explain to our people. And they took it out of context. Oh, the men are gay. Oh, the men are gay. Liberian people. There you go. That says Yvonne down there. We all now work with different people in this place here. Different people. But they got their left living, and we got our left we living. And that's what we call a lifestyle. Maybe that word lifestyle is something that Liberian people never hear before. And I think the way Mr. Cummings described it, a lot of people there. But the sad thing was some of them live in the corner for the and say, no, it's different. Now lifestyle means people can live their own life different here, and we can live our life different. That's what we call lifestyle. But they just run away with it. They just run away with it. They just run away with it. You're just accusing somebody for nothing. If I come down and say, my man, the lifestyle in America is different. In America, yeah, the way we pay our bill here, we don't go and tell the landlord, my man, tomorrow we'll pay you tomorrow. No. The lifestyle in America here is different. That's why people always tell you, say, lifestyle. Lifestyle is the way things are done differently. That's what we call lifestyle. And we struggle with that. We struggle with that. That doesn't mean that we the one doing it. So I challenge anyone today. Let them come here and tell me that they never live with anybody. I mean, work with anybody. Or even live with some people. About their lifestyle. That the people are right. If you live in this country and you live in other countries that believe in true democracy, people live that life. It is called lifestyle. It's called lifestyle. There are people in the United States government right now. You know that black girl who always coming to talk for Joe Biden? She got her part of lifestyle. One black girl in Joe Biden, on Joe Biden press team. Black girl, black. She got black hair. You think she not got people? Since she's now head of Joe Biden press team, Joe Biden they're married, right? Yeah, Joseph Biden married. But she can come and tell Joseph Biden things. That basketball player get that all the way in Russia right now, where they got him go. I saw get right, but she got up out of lifestyle. You don't hear people talking about oil around here. No, people don't talk about that. When somebody kind of, oh my man, that girl I found you. Oh my man, that girl, she got up out of girlfriend too. Yeah. Yeah, but at the lifestyle, we can't talk that kind of thing around here too much. You need to be honest to yourself. And tomorrow, on the radio station, I will make sure that I start telling Liberian people that thing tomorrow. We'll start to get rid of that thing from the people's mind. Now, we got 5 days now. We'll make sure we inform the people over there. We'll inform the people tomorrow Like myself here too, I struggle with that lifestyle in America here. I struggle with that lifestyle in America here too. There you go, Peter Buttigieg. Buttigieg, the transportation minister for Joseph Biden. He got hit by the lifestyle. He got hit by the lifestyle. All right? He got hit by the lifestyle. That's how the people want to live their life. But we that come from our country, we got to work with them. We can't fight them. We cannot fight them. We just got to live with them. Today, you got Zogo in Liberia over there, right? You're calling Zogo. The way they behave, they kind of small. Oh! What you got to say about them? You are Liberian, they are Liberian. But at the part of let's start too, right? Does that mean you are a Zogo? No. But at the kind of let's start they living too. But you're all Liberian, you're living together. Now what we call let's start. So your man can't oh, message. I will tell you tomorrow. Myself here, I struggle too. I struggle all the time with that kind of let's start too. I struggle with it because I see them every day. So you need to quit talking that thing. You need to start talking that thing. All right? You're sending the wrong information. You're sending the wrong information. Then when you're kind of calling that go make mistake and post that soon you're around here, start worrying around here. You need to stop those things. Yes, you need to stop it, all right? Okay, there you go. That's difficult. Magic Johnson's son. Yes, there you go. The Magic Johnson, all of you behind here. The people got a lifestyle in the country. You just got to work with them. There are some professors that can come to school, you see them. Whether they're men or women, they're coming. The man that your teacher, the idea the man guy, he come to can't teach you, tell the man, say you want it. No. You have to work with the person. But that their lifestyle. That is their lifestyle, people. So we'll start educating the people then tomorrow in Liberia. You got a problem. You're sending the wrong message here. So we're not going to stop it here on the show here. We're going to go out there and go educate the people. Everyone in the country here. Your uncle then, your auntie then that sending money to you. They working with some people then. Some of their bosses then all they like that. Some of their bosses like that. They say the mayor of Washington, D.C. exactly. That's the country we found ourselves in. So that means that everybody, we are all here. That in a certain country, you don't find nothing there because they ain't got no right for human right. But in the country here, when they say human right, they want you to live your life with no fear. That's why they call it the land of the free. When you come here, you can do anything free. You go on the beach, you see the people there. Yesterday I was on the beach. I see the women there passing all around. So the thing that I also want to grow like, bro, I see it all the time. That the people less than. You see the man full rumper, he wear short trousers, he moving around. He ain't got a damn for you. That the people less than. You want the democracy here, then you won't get complained about people telling you. Go on the beach there tomorrow. Oh, there, for me, I'm looking straight in the water. My daughter said, Daddy, I do that. You got to put that dress in the kind of way they want to dress. That the people less star. That the people less star. That's what we call, we struggle with the less star. Right now, the other girl came on a car yesterday. As soon as she parked her car, she got out, she just got out, lip, painting on her lip. Oh, my wife said, what are you doing here? So I said, oh, let her go. That the people less star, the country free. So when I kind of like brother, I start saying that, I don't want somebody to kind of see me there with my show on. No. That the people less star. We have to educate our people. We have to educate our people. There you go. There, most American soldiers struggle with the less star in the military. Exactly. So you see, every one of us on the platform here, we know what it means to live with a less star. Especially when you're in an organization where you deal with people of different kinds, whether you're in the medical field, in the sporting field, in the military, you teaching, you interacting with people. You will see people with different lifestyle. You go on the beach, you will see people with different lifestyle. We all struggle in the country here. We all struggle in the country here. The first time I came in the country, in college, a black girl came, she spoke to me, she said, hello, the guy has some iron on her tongue. I said, my man, I saw that girl with iron on her tongue. The man said, my man, you will see more in the country here. I said, but when she put out to her message, like people, let's start here, leave the people alone. And after that day, I just keep quiet. I see that, I say hello. But today now, I used to hear now. I don't come, my man. I said, my man, the thing you not see in Liberia, say your man born you. You can't hear. You will see a man. Remember what you talking about? I said, don't worry. Don't worry. Just pray to God. The day you can't, you see the thing you never saw before. That is the lifestyle in this country here. Some of you guys live in your community, the men that can be coming there. You can see them. You can see them. So you stop sending the wrong information around here, folks. When people leave from here, they see things, they go and explain to you. The message that the lifestyle I struggle with. It means that we all in the country see people living their life. But we struggle with it because our country, our culture. You know my part of lifestyle why I don't go to church? Because the people in the church, they give a damn for nobody. People can't go to church with gun on their side. Go to Texas, go to Oklahoma. Man, in the church, where is supposed to have God? The man in the church there. A man go on his side. You look at that guy and say, but the person at church, I thought God will be protecting you. The man will tell you, say, my man, they cannot live. We're living in the country here. You got to protect yourself. That's what you're waiting for. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect yourself. Yes. But guess what? That's the people lifestyle. That is the people lifestyle in this country. They carry a gun to church. They carry a gun to church. They put a gun on their side. Sitting on the day, pastor preaching. The man get a gun on his side. You send that to that man there. Don't get it down by that man. Just listen to that pastor preaching. You finish, you go home. That is the people right. And we all struggle with that, my friend. So please, Vivian said you can't do anything outside of the law, but you can when it comes to your natural right. Exactly. So let us be very honest to ourselves and begin to tell our story. You don't have to call names, but give as many examples as you can to educate our people back home. 15 years of civil war have blinded the minds of our people. Yes. I mean, somebody comes to the better get ear in the ear. Oh, that man again. Can't do things like that. Somebody pierce their tongue. Oh, that man a different person. And people can say, what are you looking at when you can't get time? Somebody can just looking at it. Some like Brown can just looking at it. My man don't look over there. And when the people come here for the first time, they come to you when they be looking. My man don't look over there. Just kill you. Can't just look at people that are in the country here. Why you will be telling them that sedition? Why you will be telling them that Liberian? Because you are simply trying to tell them that the people lifestyle. Don't be looking at them like that. They will not like it. Because they will tell you something that you now want to hear. Because of the lifestyle. You think the white man when he leave from here, like one time, one picking from Minnesota, the guy, he told the guy from Nima County, he never saw Liberia because he was little, they brought him, and he went to Minnesota. He became a man. He took his son to Liberia. The boy was born here. Took that boy to Liberia, they went to Nima County. The old man then went, they brought the chicken. Their grandson now come from America. They brought the sheep, the goat. Right before that labor eyes, 10-year-old boy, they caught that chicken neck. The chicken started dancing around, 14, for the last part of their life. While the old man was looking at the chicken, the other children in the town, they're laughing. That labor started crying. They brought the goat. They slaughtered the goat through. The goat started crying. That labor came back to America. He went to school. He was psychologically broken down. He used to sit down in the classroom like this and just crying. And the teacher looked at him. Say, what happened to you? He said, when I went to my daddy's country, they killed the chicken here. They cut the chicken neck and the chicken was fighting for life. They killed the goat was crying. The social worker, they had to refer that boy and his parents, and they called him. They went and met a social worker. The woman said, what you did to the boy when you went to Liberia? He not really paying attention in class yet. and they went and explained that story. One of the Somalian guys who was the interpreter as a social worker, he said, in Africa, that's how we welcome stranger. It is our lifestyle. They almost said, but your lifestyle had traumatized this boy. But I understand that your lifestyle. In America here, the children can just go to the store, they see the meat wrapper in the bed, they care who they eat it, they don't see the meat being killed before their eyes, they don't see it. So why you took that little boy over there to go show you that kind of thing? It's all about lifestyle. From that day forward, the boy called the woman and buy and tell her, say, anytime anybody come from America, you kill the chicken, they will kill the whole and kill it. Your cookies before the children eat it. Your mother, the children see them killing the chicken. And that's why in America here, the people say, this movie is PG-13. This movie is PG this. Because they don't want to expose people to things. But in this country, as big people, we know that something we call lifestyle. So we need to help our brothers and sisters understand that. Because one day it may be you. You see how in Liberia, let me tell you guys, back in the days, what we used to do? We used to be taking our hand and put it around each other there, right? You got your man, you're a man walking like this, you're walking, you got your aunt or your man, you're walking like this. You try that thing in here, the people look at you funny. But in Liberia, that was lifestyle, right? That was lifestyle. When you walk in Liberia, you put your hand around your man like this. My man, that go man, the man at my bar walking like this. But if somebody from this side, when they see us, say, you put your hand around your man. But then you got to go there and say, look, this is how our culture look like. We can put our hand around our friend, man. We walk. And then the man from different country will see us say, man, look, I struggle with that kind of thing, man. The man ain't that problem to put my hand around my friend, man. But not living that. Then man is my man. That is society there. You got to be able to, you got to accept those things. Here's another thing here too. And then we'll close it for today. We're going to come back the evening. And this story here too. And I'm sure every one of you guys will agree with me.
Most Liberian homes don't have running water. And yet, we're one of the republic in Africa. Oldest republic in Africa. And yet, we're one of the least developed countries on the continent, and indeed one of the least developed countries in the world. And I say to you, my fellow Liberians, we deserve a better Liberia. We need to ask ourselves some fundamental questions. Why are we where we are? Most Liberian homes don't have electricity. Most Liberian homes don't have running water. Most Liberians are unemployed. These are things we can change. These are things we should demand of ourselves and of our leaders. We, as Liberians, cannot keep doing the same things and expect different results. We cannot keep electing and selecting the same kinds of leaders with the same kinds of experiences and expect Liberia to change. We have to do many things differently, and that starts with selecting and electing new leaders who know how to create jobs, who know how to grow the economy, who will prioritize the Liberian people first before they prioritize themselves. And this is what I offer you, the Liberian people. The other universal truth that I want to share with you, my fellow Liberians, is the best predictor of future performance and future behavior is past performance and past behavior. And again, I ask you to look at my record of job creation, of success, of managing large budgets without one penny going missing. All of these things, you can look at and compare to the other candidates. And again, you will see that my past performance and past behavior is a good predictor, a good indicator that what I commit to, we will deliver. There are 5 priorities we have, and we call that the what's. And then there are 5 things we call the how we'll do it. And those priorities are as follows. Our first priority is infrastructure. Simply put, it's electricity, it's roads, it's water, and it's internet and cell phone connectivity across Liberia. We have to invest in infrastructure. That is the top priority. That's the basis on which we can and will do everything else. The second priority for us is job creation. There are too many unemployed, underemployed, and unemployable Liberians. The unemployment rate is over 85%. And therefore, job creation is our next priority, creating jobs for the Liberian people. The next priority is agriculture. We are a country that do not fear ourselves. These are things we can do for ourselves. We should be producing rice to feed ourselves. And my commitment is that by the end of my first term in office, we will be self-sufficient in rice production. And within education, we are focused on vocational training, teachers training, and adult education. But we have to educate our young people because, again, that's how we can help them create jobs. That's how we can train farmers. And so these things are all linked together. And our final priority in terms of the what's is health. Because you can have good infrastructure, you can have a good job, you can feed yourself, you can have great education, but if you don't have your health, it doesn't matter. And so health is our 5th priority, and there we're focused on primary health care and preventive health care. So those are the what's we'll do for our people, for the Liberian people. How are we going to do these things? The first how is we want to engage Liberians differently in the transformation of our country. We call this hearts and minds. How do we get all Liberians to participate in the changes that are required? We're going to use arts and music and culture and reconciliation and religion. All of these things, we will be deliberate in using these things to engage us as a people in this transformation process. And so we're doing some work on how we can make those things happen. The next how is that we're going to find the money. We have to find the resources, the money, to do all of the what's I mentioned earlier. And the way we'll find the money is first, we'll go after waste in government. You know, we spend a lot of money on things that we don't need, or we pay too much for things that we do need. So for example, I believe the vehicles we buy for our government officials, we spend too much money on that. We should reduce the number of vehicles, and we should buy less expensive vehicles for our government officials. We need to reduce how much they make so we can pay teachers and civil servants and police officers and the military officers and healthcare workers, people who actually do the work. We need to pay them more money and reduce the gap between those at the top and those who actually do the work. The other way we'll find the money is going after this thing called corruption. You know, corruption has been the bane of our country. Is the primary reason why we are as underdeveloped as we are today. And we will aggressively go after corruption. The first thing we'll do is we will appoint a corruption czar, a minister in charge of corruption in the presidency that will coordinate all of the agencies that are meant to find corrupt officials. Secondly thing we'll do is we'll make sure we are giving the resources, the money, the right people, the right logistics to the anti-corruption agencies, the LACC, Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, the General Accounting Office, the Public Procurement and Concessions Commission. We will make sure they got the right resources to go after corrupt officials. After that, when we find people who are corrupt, we will prosecute them, we will put them in jail, and we'll seize their assets. it will not be good enough for you just to resign. Okay. So those are the things we will do to really go after corruption. I have committed that I will not take a salary. The salary that is paid the president, I will allocate it towards helping to fight corruption. That's how important I think it is to us. And then the other way we'll find the money is we'll make sure we're getting full value, the full monies we're due from our natural resources. We'll look to exploit other natural resources so we can get the funds required to fund healthcare, to fund infrastructure, to create jobs, etc., etc. So finding the money is the second how. The next how is we want to create a government of inclusion. We want all sections of our country to be represented in the government. We want opposition political parties to be in government because we believe that having a government inclusion will help all of us make the right decisions. It will make sure that we're spreading the resources of our country across the entire country. And then the last two hows, one is growing the private sector. We will focus on growing the private sector so Liberians can primarily benefit from that growth. No longer should Liberian business people be spectators to our economy. And we want to actively support Liberianization and encourage and provide credit and other facilities to Liberian businesses so they can participate. And last but not least, we will use technology. We'll leverage technology to help us achieve our goals. So those are the what's and the how's. But let me end by leaving you again with these two universal truths. One is we cannot keep doing the same things, my people, and expect different results. We cannot keep electing the same people with the same experiences and expect Liberia to change. We need to elect and select different people to lead us, to serve us, to help us manage and run our country. And the other universal truth is the best predictor of future performance and future behavior is past performance and past behavior. And on those two counts, I believe I stand head and shoulders above the other candidates aspiring. Together, we will change Liberia for the benefit of all Liberians. We will transform our country. We will give us a new start, a fresh start, so that all of us can benefit from this country we love. I thank you. God bless you. God bless the Republic of Liberia. Yeah, it's on silent. I always like to start by saying I've been around a long time. Right. I'm actively engaged in pursuing the presidency of the Republic of Liberia. I believe that my background, my experiences, my love for and commitment to Liberia compels me to make my case to Liberian people to lead them. And so I've been encouraged by all of the conversations I've had, the meetings and groups I've met. And of course, you take a little bit with a grain of salt. We're in politics, and I understand that. But I say on balance, very encouraged by all the different constituencies I've met. Of course, the work is just beginning. I have a lot more to do, a lot more travel. I want to get to all 73 districts. So the work is still ahead, but I'm encouraged by where we are today. I think we've got about 17 months. We made a start already. I think my critics might be surprised as to even the kind of organization we've already built in quite a few counties. And so the work is not just beginning. Right? The work has begun. And I often say to people, my wife, that sleep is overrated. We will work. There are 3 working days in every 24 hours. And so we'll take advantage of the time we have, and we're going to run very hard. But it's not just about the meetings and the conversations and the rallies, etc. It's about doing small development projects around Liberia, which I think will also propel the name. In addition to having meetings, as you know, we've been investing over the years in water projects in Liberia, in education in Liberia. We've personally given scholarships to Liberians both here and in the United States. We've helped individual Liberians with health challenges. So we've been quietly involved in supporting Liberia and Liberians, and we'll do more. You know, Rodney, no matter what the outcome is of this quest, if you will, the philanthropic efforts will continue. We've opened and established the Cummings Africa Foundation, small foundation, small staff. We're doing projects already, but that foundation will endure no matter what happens, and that work will continue. Well, I think that's perhaps a narrow view. And the way I think about it is there are other ways to help Liberia and Liberians, but the presidency is the most impactful way to do that. And I want to impact all 4.5 million Liberians. I could go the philanthropic route, and as I said, I will pursue that no matter what. Right. But that philanthropic route, I might get to a few thousand, even a few 100,000 Liberians. Right. But there are 4.5 million Liberians that I believe we can impact their lives. And so my goal, my objective is to offer myself, make my case as to why, giving me the reins of the country, I can change the lives of 4.5 million Liberians as opposed to perhaps to a few 100,000. We are in discussions with other political parties as we speak, including some of the leaders, because I agree. It will take some coalition of individuals and parties to win the election. Even more important though, Rodney, I think it will take a coalition of parties and individuals to actually lead the country. One of my commitments to Liberian people is that I will build an inclusive government, a government that reflects all Liberians, all people from all geographic, ethnic, religious groups. Because I think the changes required to move our country ahead requires that we have as many people in the tent as possible. As you know, inclusion is a very powerful motivator. And to help all the constituents understand the choices we'll need to make, the sacrifices, etc., we will need to have as many people in the tent as possible. So not only to win the election, but to govern the country, I believe we need an inclusive government. And so that process begins now. And as I mentioned, we're in preliminary discussions with a variety of political parties and individuals to come together to not only win, but to lead the country.
What recipe do you have for reconciliation if you become president?
I believe that one, having a truly inclusive government is one way we'll start the reconciliation process. I think two, we have to look back and understand why we have perhaps the rift and the challenges we have. We need to celebrate each other. We need to look at our national symbols. I believe there's a commission or some work happening there, but we need to revisit that and make sure our national symbols reflect all of Liberia. And so understanding and accepting the fact that we need to reconcile ourselves, you know, it's like an alcoholic. If you don't admit you have a problem, you don't begin to solve the problem. Right. So we have a problem, let's come together as Liberians, as I mentioned, inclusive government, national symbols, conversations. You know, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission had a list of things, right. Recommendations. I want to focus on those parts of the recommendation that was all about reconciliation and about moving forward. And I'm committed to actually do it. You know, I think our Constitution says innocent until proven guilty. Right. And I think we should let the Liberian court systems handle any issues with regards to bad behavior in the past. I want to focus on reconciling the Liberian people. I want to focus on the future. And I think that's more important. But I think we should let the judiciary system take care of any quote-unquote punishment if there is to be. And again, our Constitution, innocent until proven guilty, and we should let the court systems handle that. I often say to people that large corporations are similar, not exactly the same as governments. They're similar in the sense that you have to manage large, complex organizations, large budgets. And I remind the Liberian people that the operating budget I managed prior to retiring is actually quite a bit bigger than the budget of the Republic of Liberia. You manage all the challenges with people, right? Once you have people involved, there's a bit of politics, a question of degree. And so there are a lot of similarities, I believe, and my experiences, having done it very successfully, will lend itself to managing and leading the Liberian economy and the Liberian people. The way to think about this is that first I've said we have to grow the revenues of the country. To do anything, right? We know all the challenges, infrastructure, health, education, et cetera, et cetera. It begins with having the funds to do it. And so as we speak, we have commissioned a small team of Liberians to begin to look at how we can grow the revenue base from 650 million to $1 billion, $2 billion, et cetera, et cetera. And by doing that, we'll create the flexibility to address the issues. So that's one thing. The second focus area of mine is, in the immediate future, is trying to find ways to create jobs. And the way we do that is by providing skills to our young people, which is a nice segue into my priorities for education. It's early childhood education, it's vocational training, because again, it leads to job. We're in the process, my wife and I are building a place. And we've been challenged to find Liberians with carpentry skills, electrical skills, plumbing skills, etc. And I think one way to resurrect the economy is to provide those skills. And as you invest in infrastructure, housing, those things, you will create jobs. And as I mentioned, you got to grow the revenue base to do all of those things. So all of those things, as you know, are interrelated. I also offer the fact that we all know what needs to be done. It's all about the house. And again, if you look at my track record, my history, I've had success at every level in business, and I think I can bring the same thing to bear in Liberia and focus on how we go from where we are to our aspirations. And again, we've got teams working on all the different sectors so that if we're successful, when we're successful, we'll know on day one what we need to do to begin to resurrect the Liberian economy.
Is agriculture one of the things your team is looking at?
It is.
Because agriculture, as you know, is doing pretty well in terms of agriculture, because if you have other resources falling in the stock market and stuff, you need something to back up, and agriculture is one of the things that people are looking at. How do you hope that can help?
Absolutely. So agriculture is a primary focus, right? And we gotta be able to feed ourselves. As you know, we import, apparently the numbers, I'm sure I'll be directionally correct. Right. The numbers are in something like the $200 million range of imports of foodstuff. We have to change that dynamic. It will not happen overnight, but it's going to be a focus area. And by the way, there are Liberians who know the solutions. I met with a group of Liberians, actually earlier this week, who have a blueprint for how we can scale up our agricultural sector. It's all about the will to do it. It's all about the focus of doing it. So the solutions exist. And I've asked them to share with me the work they've done. They've explained it. But the point is it's going to be a focus area. It creates jobs. You feed yourself. We reduce our dependence on imports. It'll help the economy because from a foreign exchange perspective, we're not, all our foreign exchange earnings are not going out to import rice. So agriculture has to be a priority. We're less dependent on commodities, iron ore, rubber, and the vagaries of what happened in the world. So for all kinds of reasons, I have a lot of passion for agriculture and making sure as a government, we are focused on that. We need to think about resurrecting the agricultural bank. Financing is a big barrier, right? I know the Ministry of Agriculture today has a fairly large extension program. We need to augment that, supplement that, so that we're providing skills to the farmers. Farmers need a ready market for their products. So we used to have the Liberian Produce Marketing Corporation. We need to revisit that and restructure that, and so that when people grow their products, they know there's a market, there's a buyer for those products. So all of those things, but the blueprints exist. Some of those things we did in the past, some things we have to adjust to today's realities, but the fact that the blueprint exists, and it will be a focus of ours.
Let's look at the issue. It's on Truth FM 96.1. It is the radio service of the Renaissance Communications Incorporated, and thank you for that promo. It's coming up on tomorrow on State of the Nation, going back into history, November 12, 1985, November 12, 2021, 36 long years, and we needed to just go back into history. So as I said, let me use this time to introduce the standard bearer of the Alternative National Congress, a constituent party member or member of the collaborating political parties. It's not strange to the airwave, 96.1, but this is his debut on State of the Nation. Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings, welcome. My name is Chris. How are you?
Chris,
Yes.
good to be with you. I'm well, thank you. And as you say, I've been in the studio a few times, but my first time on State of the Nation. So it's wonderful to be with you and Magdalene as well.
Good to see you. You look energetic.
I am. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling strong. I'm blessed.
Okay. Let's come as fast, but we got like an hour to go. Let me first, what is the state of affairs? I usually ask this question deliberately every time we meet. What is the state of affairs of the Alternative National Congress?
The party is doing very well, Chris. The party is energized. As you know, we went to a convention where I was blessed to be elected the standard bearer of the ANC. We are also actively investing in the party, in the county structures. We're trying to give them mobility so they can recruit. I have no empirical evidence, but I believe we are the fastest growing political party in the country. There's a lot of energy in the ANC.
That's self-glorification.
Well, you could claim it that way, and that's why I made it clear I don't have any empirical evidence.
Okay.
But from the energy I see, from the number of people that are reaching or wanting to join us, the state of the ANC is good.
Okay, and I'd like to reach out to the other media outlet, also in studio, Spoon, and also relaying this one, this production, and we all will be together up to the closure. So, yes, with the briefing from the ANC, let's get into the first thing I want to. Something is just sparked up yesterday. We need to talk on it, and you've always mentioned it every time you have an opportunity to talk to media. There's another failure in the Millennium Challenge. Consecutively, 4 times, failing. This should raise the eyebrow of the Liberian people.
Absolutely, Chris. This government is makes all kind of excuses for all kind of things, right? They either blame the opposition, they blame the prior government, all of this stuff. It is a fact that at least 3
consecutive times they have failed the MCC, right? On the one hand, they claim they inherited a quote-unquote a mess, but the prior government passed though, right?
Yes.
In consecutive years, and they have failed consecutively. And look, I want Liberian people to understand this thing, right? There are 20 categories. All you gotta do is, for the kind of country we are, Liberia, you just gotta make 50%. You gotta just pass half of it.
Yes.
And they can't even do that.
10 out of 20.
Yes, 10 out of 20, 3 years in a row. So I don't know what the excuse is. Though. And then I heard the Minister of Finance blaming the education. But President, we are on the whole government. Oh. He ain't just on fiscal policy or the economy or rule of law, or he owns everything. So if one fails, he fails. And so I also want Liberian people to know that these are what they call objective measures. This is not because Alexander Cummings says so, the ANC says so, the CPP says so. These are measures that the government reports, right? That the MCC measures, and they have failed. But beyond these measures, the Liberian people are feeling the suffering, Chris. So yes, these are facts. They have failed consistently. But what's more important is that our people are feeling this failure in the inability to feed themselves consistently well, inability to pay their rent, to pay their children's school fee. I ain't even talking about saving a little bit of money for their retirement. These are the consequences of the MCC failure in the sense that our people are struggling. If you ask the average Liberian across this country, are you better off today than you were when President Weah became president? 99% of Liberian people will say they're worse off. So these things are not just numbers; they are real in the lives of our people. And I'm glad this has come on now, because these are not facts. That they can make all the excuses, they can blame everybody, but it's happening consistently.
Does it sound enviable if I was reading on the report in the West African sub-region, and I bump into this one, Sierra Leone, being named as the best performer in the West, in the Mana River Basin. They used to be trailing all behind Liberia all those years.
Exactly.
But here they are. They seem to be the darling boy now, darling girl in MRU.
Yeah, almost you can think about it. Our loss is their gain, but you're absolutely right. And again, so I think several months ago, maybe a year or more ago, one of the excuses the government made was, the global economy, what's happening around the world. But then when you look in the region, our neighboring countries are doing better than we are. The Ivorians are doing better than we are. The Sierra Leoneans are doing better than we are. And on the MCC, the Sierra Leoneans have requalified, right? So that other excuse, that one has gone away though. It is about the incompetence and the ineptitude of this government. And again, yes, the MCC is embarrassing to us as a people, as a country. But what's even more important is that our people are feeling the pain. They're feeling the suffering, right? And this government got to start making excuses. And by the way, I hope they can improve. I hope next year they can pass. The finance minister predict they will pass. I hope so, because if that means our people are suffering less, that's what we should want. That's what we should all wish. But he predicted it a year before and they didn't pass this year. So I don't know if we should have any confidence that they will pass next year. But if they do, that will not be a bad thing, by the way. And we should hope and wish that they pass, because hopefully that means the suffering is less on our people.
Okay, so Magdalene is on the other side. She's in the main studio, my co-presenter. And just in case you want to ask this question, just signal me. And this is State of the Nation. So how do you feel, and this is the last question from my end on this MCC stuff, how do you feel as a politician that 500 million, half a billion at stake is blown off only because we feel the exam, even though the exams questions were given beforehand? How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, well said, Chris. The exam questions were given beforehand. And we failed the exam 3 times in a row at least. And we knew the question, not just this time, we knew the question from before.
right? So what's the excuse, right? So all of those resources are lost to us because of the ineptitude of the government. And so shame on them. I want to say to the Liberian people, again, that I blame everybody. I want to remind us as a people, we elected President Weah and his government. They're not doing this work for free. They get paid. President Weah get paid, the ministers get paid, the legislators get paid. So it's not like they're doing this stuff for nothing. We elect them, we give them the constitutional authority to manage our resources, to manage our country. We pay them to do it, and yet they're failing at it. They are failing at it. And again, the good news is these are objective criteria. As you say, you put it the right way, they knew the exam questions in advance, and they still couldn't pass the exam questions.
Well, let's praise them a little. Narrow miss. We miss out narrowly. Let's do it holistically, collectively as a Liberian. We miss out narrowly. In some places, we scored, man. Gender in economy, 94%. That's excellent.
Yeah, look, I'm one, as you know, will always acknowledge when things go well by anybody, right? And that's why I said I hope the finance minister prediction is correct that it will pass next year, because that hopefully means the country is improving and the suffering is getting less, right? But the reality is, Chris, they failed, right? Almost, I think there's a saying, saying that almost is only good in horseshoe, playing horseshoe. You know, you gotta pass the exam. If 70% is what you need to make, or 100 to pass to get a C, and you make 69, you fail. You still get a D, right, or F, depending on how you think about the grade. So this government has successfully failed. And again, I'm repeating myself here, but it's important that I do. It's not about these numbers, it's about the suffering our people are feeling.
Okay.
All right.
In 1 minute, recommendations, just for the sake of next year.
So there are many things the government needs to do to improve. First of all, the whole rule of law, right? Because if you don't have rule of law, your private sector will not thrive. If you don't have security, maybe we'll talk about it. I don't know if it's on your list of questions.
Yes, I got it.
If people don't feel secure, you're not going to get improvements. If you're not growing the private sector, if you're not creating the right environment for the private sector to thrive, you're not going to grow your economy. If you're not investing in productive resources, in productive areas, you're not going to grow your economy. So those are all areas that this government needs to improve upon, so that, again, we reduce the suffering on the Liberian people.
Okay, as I said, state of the nation. So the line of questioning is measured in the infected pyramid style that I like. So we'll slip down to insecurity in the country, and mysterious death, and the list goes on and on. The government sometimes comes and deny that there are mysterious killings. Sometimes the media will have to break the news before people get to know. Put yourself, let's do a mock or a dummy here. Mr. Cummings is the president of the Republic, and this information are coming. And the first and foremost, what do you do? What does the executive mansion do in the case of these kind of secret killings and mysterious deaths?
Yeah, first of all, in a Cummings administration, these things will not happen. Let me tell you why. Because we would do the following things, and we'll make sure those things are in place. And let me remind you, Chris, Magdalene, and the Liberian people, that the security of the individual citizens of the country is the most fundamental responsibility of the government. If you don't feel safe in your home, in your country, in your neighborhood, then it's life worth it, right? That's so fundamental, so basic. And again, the failure is there. But in a Cummings administration, first of all, we'll make sure that our police force, all the security folks, will be managed by professionals. We'll make sure it's not politicized. Two, we will make sure they have the resources required to do their job. There will be no political interference in the work. They will make sure the rule of law is applied to everybody. There will be no exception. I, as a leader, and the leaders in my government will follow the rules of law, because there's small things you do that signal to people that you don't care about enforcement of the rule of law, like even enforcing the traffic rules, or whether it's the stealing that happens. All of these things, we will set the example. People will know we're serious that when you violate any law, you will be punished. And people will see the resources being allocated to that. They will see the performance of the security organizations, and therefore these things will not happen. And when they happen, we will make sure we investigate. You know, the government can't deny it's happening, because I think I just saw a notice from the Ministry of Justice talking about the actions they're taking, offering rewards for some of the recent deaths and that kind of stuff. So there's no denial. And the fear is in the country. You know, again, they blame the opposition, they blame. It's time that they take responsibility and they take some action. And so, back to your question, these things will not happen because we'll make sure. The other thing, though, Chris,
yeah.
Again, some of these things are a manifestation of the hardship in the country, of the suffering in the country. So if we are growing the economy, if we are creating jobs, if people incomes are going, if people feel more secure, many of the challenges we're seeing will not manifest themselves. So that's another thing that will be different.
Yeah, so we'll come to the opportunity. I have the economy listed.
But these things are all linked to. Yeah, I know we'll come to that, but these things are all interrelated.
Sure, I do agree. But you said these things will not happen. That is an attempt to create a paradise on earth. Conflict is as old as mankind. Imagine the president takes on the podium, the microphone, and addressing his people or her people to say there will be no this kind of a death in. If it happens, it embarrasses you subsequently.
So, look, I'm not saying, and thanks for asking so I can clarify. I'm not saying that there will be paradise in Liberia, right? But I'm seeing the systematic things that are happening, the fear that exists in the country. People unfortunately will steal, you have brawls, you have people who will kill, those things, but it will not be systemically as is happening now. And that's the difference, that's the distinction I'm trying to make.
At what proportion do you think this is, even though a death of a single compatriot is as big as the universe, at what proportion do you think we've reached with this current situation?
Well, I mean, I don't know how to measure it in terms of numbers, whatever, but I think
out of control.
I think the fear level in the country is not acceptable. Liberians should not live in the fear they're living in. They should feel free to go out in the evenings in the neighborhood, socialize with friends. People shouldn't be running home as soon as it turns dark. And so I think the level of fear, the level of concern in the country is at an unacceptably high level. And that's the piece I'm seeing will be different, actually. I'm not sure.
And you got some Liberians faking the situation.
Yeah.
That should be a concern of...
That would be, any Liberian who fake... And by the way, if we catch you faking the situation, again, there needs to be consequences, right? You can't just fake it and kind of get away with it, right? Because that's what pervades the environment and it helps to fuel the fear. So whether you actually do it or you fake it, neither one are acceptable. And there should be consequences for both kinds of behaviors. 19
minutes after 4 o'clock, you're tuning in or watching State of the Nation and being simulcast on Spoon TV, and Real TV. And Magdalene handles the technical aspect of the production in Studio A. My name is Christopher Selly, and I'm here with the standard bearer of the Alternative National Congress, Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings. We're discussing a wide range of national issues, and we just talk on the Millennium Challenge stuff. We slip down to the mysterious killings and disappearances. Now, let's come to the bigger part of it, the economy. Every time you have an opportunity to sit before the microphone, you got different version or interpretation of the Liberian economy. Meanwhile, the Minister of Finance, Development Planning, Samuel Twed, 3 days ago, termed this economy as the best performing economy as compared to the last one in recent times. You agree?
I gotta laugh, Chris, because the question is based on what? I mean, just making an assertion, just making a statement
You
doesn't
say
make
the
it true.
Liberian dollar is appreciating now with the current current.
But the question is why, and again, what's the manifestation of that in the lives of the average Liberian?
You got any other interpretation?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear you.
The interpretation. Let's look at what's happening in our country today. Inflation is up. So the price. What that means, my fellow Liberians, is that the price you're paying for your food, your rent, your children's school fees, all of those things are going up. And just strengthening of the Liberian dollar in abstract doesn't mean anything if the average Liberian is not feeling the kind of the benefit, if you will, of what the minister declares this great economy. So the reality is that making that statement doesn't make it right, doesn't make it true. And again, we know the average Liberian is feeling the suffering. This is why in the by-elections last year in December, the verdict Liberians gave was that out of the 15 seats where the CDC feel like candidates, I think they won 2 or 3. That for me was a tangible manifestation of the unhappiness of the Liberian people, right? So for the minister to make that sort of statement, maybe refer to the strength of the Liberian dollar, that is not the manifestation of what's truly happening in the country and the suffering our people are facing. And again, if you look at the MCC we talked about earlier, those are clear facts. That is not, what he proclaims it to be.
If you were in charge as president, what do you do with kind of a minister of finance?
So if I was president of Liberia, first of all, and I think Liberians know this about me, is that the economy, the private sector is the area I understand. That's the area I grew up in. And, if I had this kind of economy under my watch, first of all, the Liberian people should not re-elect me if that happened. But I would not have a minister of finance making those sort of statements when we're failing the Millennium Challenge, the MCC, if you will. And so, but let me talk about some of the things we need to be doing.
Yes.
Right, to improve.
I like the recommendation part of it.
Yeah, to sort of improve the economy. In no particular order, first of all, I always keep saying we gotta reduce, we gotta stop the stealing, we gotta stop the corruption in our country, and take those money and reinvest it in more productive sources. That's one of the first things we gotta do. The second thing we gotta do, again, I say second, all of these things we gotta do, I don't mean in this particular sequence or order, if you will. But another thing we gotta do is we gotta make sure the environment for Liberians to invest in business, for them to, employ people, for them to grow their business. We gotta make sure the business environment is improving and is conducive for private sector growth for employment. Yeah. We also have to direct resources into investing in agriculture to make sure we're producing food so that we can feed ourselves. And that's a long-term return, but you got to start now to start actually doing that. So again, we can improve it. We can improve our economy. We have to also make sure we're finding ways to drive revenue in our country, so we can continue to invest in healthcare. We can invest in education. We can create jobs for our young people. These are all things we have to do if we want to Liberia to grow and for us to grow our economies. And these are some examples of the things we'll do to make sure we are at a different place from where we are today.
Yes, those are recommendations for the strengthening of the economy. One could just say, why not communicate these excellent intervention or recommendations to the status quo? You once upon a time called on them that you wanted to intervene in the fight against violence. They accepted with open arms, and these kinds of recommendations are just good enough to share with the government.
So we've given recommendations in the past, but actually, you know what? I'm happy to do it again. I'm happy to summarize my thoughts, and I'm happy to share with them. Okay. So we've done it in the past, as you know. In fact, we talked about it right on this show whenever we were here the last time. But I'm happy to dust it off, to update it, and to send it to the government. And let's hope they implement the recommendations.
Yeah.
Yes, Mark?
Mr. Cummings, you just mentioned education, and that's what I've been waiting for all along. On the scorecard of the MCC, let me just take you back a little bit. Girls' education failed 27%, and 23% for failed girls' education, and the other one is girls' education and primary education, excuse me. So I really want to know if you are still giving recommendations. So what do you think should we do to improve this sector? Because education remains the bedrock of every society. So what should we do? Is it should we just leave it with the ruling party, or is it it's a collective effort of the opposition, no opposition, and including the ruling party?
So, Magdalene, it's a good question, and again, I'm trying to answer it in a way that can help the audience, our people understand, is that the opposition is a group of citizens, Liberian citizens, who use their own resources to help where they can and to try to hold the government accountable. We also, good opposition, make recommendations, provide solutions to the government. But the government, and Liberian people, I hope you are listening to me, the government has control of the resources, Magdalene. We elect them, we pay them to manage the resources of Liberia. They have the responsibility to do it, they have the authority to do it, and it is their job to do it. As an opposition leader, I only have so much personal money I can invest, and I will give examples of what I'm doing in education. But my hand can only reach so far. My pocket is so deep. I help where I can. The primary way I can help as an opposition leader is to provide recommendations, to provide solutions, and then to try to hold them accountable by pointing out to Liberian people where their shortcomings are. But it is their job. It is their responsibility. They get paid to do it. They're supposed to be doing it. And we should be clear on that. In the case of the Cummings Foundation, we provide scholarships to students. We have a STEM school. STEM is science, technology, engineering, math, because that's the future. We want people to focus on technology. It's just down the road here. We significantly fund that. But the kinds of things we should be doing, though, to fix our educational system. The first and most important thing we should do is we need to invest in teachers' training and to pay our teachers well. That at every level, invest in teachers' training at the university level, the secondary level, primary level, and so on and so forth. Because if you don't have well-trained, educated teachers, the educational system will not work. It will fail. Because the saying goes garbage in, garbage out. If you're not teaching good at every level, the fundamentals, and then if you're not paying them a living wage, you will encourage them to take money to change grades, and all that corruption stuff will happen in the school. So that is foundational to fixing the system, is to invest in our teachers and teachers training, paying them well, and making sure they're educated. And then we got to use technology to help in that process as well, to speed it up, because it will take time to train the thousands of teachers we need. So for those good ones, we should use technology. We should use Zoom and stuff, because you can sit here in the studio and you can be teaching students in Zwedru, in Vonjama, in Kolahon, wherever, in Saclay, right? And you can be giving them good education. So we can use technology to accelerate our educational progress, if you will. And then we also need to make sure we are providing vocational training, because not everybody will go the university route, right? And so If we're going to grow the economy, we need to grow the economy. If we're going to grow infrastructure, we need to do that. We need plumbers, electricians, carpenters, all these other folks. And so we need to be investing in vocational training. And then we need to be investing in primary, starting with the young people, right? And so those are the kinds of things we should be doing, Magdalene. But is it responsibility of the government? Our job as opposition is to hold them accountable, is to give us recommendations, solutions. And where we can, we should help. And we do that. But it's not the responsibility of opposition to do that.
I know you opposition have been making some recommendations, but have the government taking those recommendations into consideration?
Well, again, given what just happened with the MCC and the failure on the educational side, and I think I was told the minister of finance blamed the education piece for why they failed. So I think the answer is there, that they're clearly not doing what's necessary to improve
But it's
the
saddens you,
educational
right?
sector.
Especially the area of failure. Girls' education, primary education, it should be a concern of a serious minded person.
And it is. It should be concerned of the entire country that there are failures in those areas.
Yes.
And again, our educational system needs, like many things in our country, needs a lot of work. And I think all Liberians want to see is that, the improvements are happening, and that they can sort of see it and feel it in their lives. And I don't think that's happening today.
Okay, there's 29 minutes up to the hour. So at 20 minutes up to the hour, we open the lines and you will briefly interact with the studio guest, Mr. Cummings of the Alternative National Congress. Let me ask you, we expect billions of Liberian dollars to be printed, if not printed yet, but infusing into the commerce and monetary space of Liberia. I know when the news broke that the government wanted to print, you had a press conference and made several checkmates. Yet, they went ahead, money is printed, I want to believe, and very soon, new banknotes are on the market. Meaning your recommendations or your concerns were not ahead to, and went ahead.
Yeah, so if I may take a few minutes to just recount what our concerns and what our objections were. And first of all, when this government took over, they said there was too many Liberian dollars floating around. And so they asked the legislature for $25 million to quote unquote soak up the excess currency. So that's kind of the first thing they said. And then we all know about the printing money saga that happened and the various investigations around that, and no real clarity on exactly what happened there. And so the concerns were until you can explain how the 25 million so-called was used, until you fix all the inadequacies that were pointed out at the time, should we trust the government to print more and new money with all those things being addressed? Now, let me also say, look, sometimes you got to print more money or new money. Sometimes it makes sense to redenominate your currency, right? And some of them, there are valid reasons. But you need to do it in an environment where the central bank is well managed, is well run. You can account for this money. And then you can't just loosely print money, because if you print too much money and you put too much money into the economy, you drive inflation. You have too much money going after too few goods and services. You will drive inflation and you will make the situation even worse. And so again, we just want the government to do the right things, to do it in the right way. And just printing money by itself will not solve our economic challenges and problems. The economy is based on the productive capacity. As long as we are importing almost everything we consume, Chris, right? We will have a weakened economy. Now, changing that, fixing that will not happen overnight. It will take time. But we need to be implementing economic policies that will change that over time, right? So just printing money by itself will not solve any problems. And then printing it in an environment where we're not sure about the checks and balances and that sort of stuff, I think is a recipe for more and future problems in the not too distant future.
And it's like we've still not found a solution to. But again, they said they justify the reason why they want to print and infuse the new currency because, well, mutilations all over the place.
And but that's why I said, Chris, again, I like to be balanced and fair. There are sometimes using it again. I'm not saying it well. I'm just saying I hope so. Right? But that's the point. You take money, you take the mutilated ones out, you put new fresh notes in, right? And if your economy is growing, you need to add more currency to fuel the economic growth. So there are reasons for that. The problem is, are we confident that that will happen? That the processes are in place to control it? And what I'm seeing is, given the history of performance of this government, I'm not sure those processes are there that will make sure this thing happens in the right way, and so that the net benefit of why you do that will actually materialize for that period of people.
So you can predict confusion?
I hope not, but yes, I would say if
Look at the fear U.S. president. You hope they're going to bring them, the ones withdrawn from.
But that's what they should be doing.
But that's the normal. The normal protocol.
And I say I hope they do. I hope they do. Right?
Okay, so let's begin taking the calls. This will take us up to at least 10 minutes. And it's on 07751444278. Madeline will take the calls from that end, 07751444278, and I will intermittently squeeze in some calls from this end. Mike, do you have calls coming in?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Yeah, good afternoon. Are you getting him?
Ali, let's hear you. Yes.
Yeah.
Are reading his shame and his grace. And it is quite unfortunate that people will be asking for second chance. And my response to them is that there is no second chance for first impression. You have given testimony, you must give the stage to allow serious people who have competence, people who have the contacts to attract foreign direct investment, people who explore opportunities for young people to build and integrate practices. These are serious things we need to see happening in this country.
Okay.
All the representation, what we see is that slogan hearing, party lending slogan, and all of these things, they are not helping young people to build and practice. We need serious leaders in this country who understand what needs to be done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. A lot of people hanging on. Magdalene, you got calls coming? 07751444278. Mike, are you there?
Yeah, there is no call for now.
Okay, let me take this one, squeeze this one in, and hello? Yes? Sorry? Hold on, let me adjust the line a little bit. Yes? Sorry.
Can I take it from here?
Yeah, take it from now, let me adjust.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, you are live.
You're live, Chief, let's hear you.
Hello?
Hello?
Please make your point. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Make your point, please.
My name is Stanley White.
Let's hear you.
Yeah. Like I said, my name is Stanley White. I'm calling from
Stanley, let's hear you.
Let me say thank you to Mr. Arizona Barry Cummings. The young people of the Western region, we know your capability, we know what you put out. And at the end of the day, we know you need a CCTV, and we will vote you on residents for the Western region. Thank you very much for the platform.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me take this call from this end. Hello? Yes, let's hear you. Let's hear you. Hello? I don't know what's going on. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, take it from my end, I guess. Hello? Yes?
Thank you. My name is Jesse.
Douglas, let's hear you, Chief.
Yeah, I'd love to say plentiful thanks to Mr. Cummings. I think he's always take as a solution is pressing the absence of because time about number, he has demonstrated that just not the traditional politician who's used with more ramification. With that, I have a question to Mr. Cummings, and that has to do with the issue of the economy for which we have yet and continue to fail. My question to him is, as a financial expert, judging from a school of thought, is it that if whenever a country goes about printing money, the volume of money that needs to be printed needs to be told the currency in terms of the amount, and we would like to know if he has any idea as to the security feature, because we are ordinary Liberians have absolutely zero idea on these things, and these are some of the things that create hills in our financial sector. So I would like to hear from him.
Okay.
Before the government goes printing money, what are the mechanisms in place? What are the avenues and local researchers?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me see what I can squeeze this one in. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
State of the Nation. This is Daniel Mobakugu, and I phoned in from District number 4, West Area to Borough.
Yes, Daniel, let's hear you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting the Honorable Cummings in the studio, but my concern has to do with the young population of this country. If you look at the population nowadays, it's like it's draining down the drain, we're going down the drain by the day, by the presence of the ghettos. So my question to Mr. Cummings, what direction is he looking when it comes to the young people, rescuing them from the quagmire of the dungeon? Now, if he gets into power, what is programs?
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Matt, you got called?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Hello, you live. Hello? Hello? Mike, you got to.
Yeah, hello?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we
You
have to.
are live. Your name?
Let me take this one. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, Christopher.
Yes, let's hear you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, man. I want to congratulate the student.
What's your name?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Yeah, Mr. Cummings.
What is your name?
I'm Dr. Livingston.
All right, Mr. Livingston, let's hear you.
Yeah. Mr. Cummings, I want to congratulate you for your recent statement that you are jamming the
Okay.
But you know, most of the time, Liberians come to us and tell us that they want to liberate us, they are the enemy. You know, concerning the issue of the old leadership. So we depend on you because you were part of the CDB, and later you divided from there, you say you want to be on your own, but we don't have nothing. We say, I guess I want to go to politics. It depends how you want to do it.
Okay.
So what you are telling us now, if we want to deal with you now, we don't know how you will treat us.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mark, take that call. Yes.
Hello? Hello? Yeah.
Can you move from the noise?
Basically, I'm listening to Mr. Alexander Cummings, and I think he has said it all. But what we want to tell our people here is this. Already we know from the practical aspect that the George PLF government has built. But what can we do to invent a better thing is to rally around people who have the capacity of people who have built the kind of a connection with international and both national people.
Okay.
Ensuring that our country can get there. So, I mean, we speak to your conscience to understand that Mr. Alexander Cummings is not coming to the table with just what he changed, but what is out there, and that cannot be done except you, the Liberian people, understand that Mr. Alexander Cummings is the one who has come to make the change.
Okay.
So we get better way together. Mr. Alexander Cummings, what are you guys doing as the leader? I believe in the agenda and stuff. What are you guys
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This caller you on? Hello? Hello? Oh, you drop off. Hello? Let's hear you. Let's hear you.
Let me appreciate this afternoon county state of the nation in the nation higher platform. But what you have to do, if you are creating this government 4 years in power, and looking at health, education, and the security and economy, what would be the group of the government? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emma.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, my name is Kobe Daya Sonega.
Yeah.
And I joined from a Kingsley Project God resident.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Let me say thank you to my political leader and he is the Messiah, the man who will never Liberia. One thing I got from Mr. Cummings is when he talks about corruption. I think one of the things that happens in Liberia development is because of corruption. Everybody have a political connection, so they think they can do anything and it will go starty. But I trust Mr. Cummings and I know what he can do.
Okay.
With his past experience and his result. I know that he's going to tackle these things and Liberia is going to get better. And Liberia is going to get better under Mr. Cummings.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me take this caller. Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
This is Abenigo P. Morris and I come from Australia.
Abenigo, let's hear you. 1 minute.
Yeah, we just want to tell the CPP thing, Mr. Cummings. I want to hear him. And I tell you, when they get John with Joseph Parker, because you know this CDC was been there from 2005. They are still like real people. Look at the finance minister saying that he's the best educated man. So why is that for me and Mr. Parker to come together? Then they forget, but you know, they just let your team go, Mr. Cummings. We beg you. Yes, the business come together.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's just take them for me. I tell you, man, we are following them.
Okay, Abenigo. Okay, Abenigo. Thank you so
Can I
much.
take a call?
Yeah, take the last two from the end.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Mommy, you got a poor strength in your voice. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, my name is Sekou Trail, calling from Fighter Community to be exact.
Okay, please go on.
Yeah, I'm quite understand, Mr. Cummings. Thank you for the dedication work that you've been doing with the Liberian people. The work to see contributed to the 3 to 14 massive things for some of nations to take over Liberia as a whole.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let me take it from this end. Hello? Yes, let's hear you.
Go out of the box. Anyway, I didn't hear you speaking about it. But my concern has to do with Mr. Cummings.
You want to call your name? You want to call your name?
I said I'm Philip T. Walker.
Philip Walker. Okay.
Yeah, your neighbor from CMJ.
Let's hear you.
All right, Mr. Cummings, you were the chairperson of the CPV when the saga of these structures and numerical changes came out. And it was established that these things happen definitely. I want to hear from you in clear terms. Do you have any regret being the chairperson of the CPV at the time and the CPV is in this saga? And if yes, what is the regret and what is the way forward?
Okay, thank you.
What is the way forward?
Thank you.
Do you have any regret?
Thank you. Let me close on the call here. This one, hello?
Oh, good afternoon to you.
Yes.
My name is Charles. Yeah, I call from Kunas Farm.
Yeah, Charles, 1 minute.
Yeah, the thing my first question I have to go to Mr. because I hope he answered this question. You know, he was at the top of leadership at our Cocoa factory. So right now, Africa, the World Trade Organization has been here as African or Nigerian. So I want to ask him what his relationship with her and what did he know about the same mean for Africa, number one. Number two, we talk about climate change, you know, who's has been depleted in the greenhouse gas. And China and India are the worst polluters of the climate. So we had a COP26 lately. So what does it mean? Whether it was a success or whether it was a failure after climate change, and what would we do when it comes to power as president to help with climate change?
Thank you.
My third one,
No, Chief. You know that three questions? Eh? No. Okay, go on. Go on.
So the last have to do with the way government collect taxes, you know, the money is driving the way you're going to school. You see people in the streets for asking for driver's license, asking for registration, and so on and so on. So I'm gonna, I want the Ministry of Finance, Minister of one-stop shop, Ministry of APA. When you buy a car, you register, you get your license, you do everything there. All that traffic in. What we want to recommend my question, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mark. You can close up with the last two, and I think yes, you got caller.
Yeah, hello.
Okay.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you are loud.
All right, thank you for having me on the show and email after me. This is Gonko, a friend of mine, Gonko, and I joined you from beautiful city of Phoenix. So let me first say, welcome to Mr. Cummings, to our city. But let me just say this. I'm glad that I have listened to Mr. Cummings. You have spoken very well. There's no argument that this government has issued this bill. All right, and then sometimes it is laughable when you hear those who support government asking the Liberian people to accept change. But then when you also look in the Asian community, all right, you see two faces, and with these two faces, you can see clearly that one person has the enemy, one person has over time, every pretended how he is using this country.
Okay, thank you.
So I want to use this as a wavelength to call on all our Nigerians from all parts of life in this country. Let us rally around this movement so that we can be able to present a change that this country deserves. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay, due to time, we can't take any more calls. So, Mr. Cummings will address your concerns within the time frame, and that is if he can, especially the guy who brought the triple barrel question. Yes, Mr. Cummings.
So we're trying to get to all of the questions and try to be efficient in answering the question. So he asked a question about Coca-Cola. I'm not sure I understood the question specifically, but
Said there's a Nigerian lady, whether you got any connection with her. Maybe the question is in direction whether you still have.
So look, I retired from Coca-Cola in 2016. I'm no longer an employee. And I remind people that, Coca-Cola was not a family-owned company. I didn't own it. I didn't, but I did well. It's a global company. At one point, I was in top 2, top 3 executive globally for this company. We did very well. Manages a very large, complex organization. I'm very proud of my time there and the responsibilities I had. I managed budgets well in excess of our national budget and did it with integrity, Chris and Magdalene. And the company employs people from around the world. Americans, Chinese, Japanese, Nigerians, Liberians, So it's a global company. I think is a Kenyan lady who runs all of East and Central Africa now for the company. I think there's a young guy from Burkina Faso actually who runs kind of West and Central Africa. But again, I retired 4 or 5 years ago, so I don't have anything to do with Coca-Cola anymore. There was a question on climate change from the same individual. I think COP is still going on. I think it concludes tomorrow, so they haven't issued all the resolutions. But the caller was correct. The primary contributors to greenhouse gases are the Chinese, the Americans, the Indians, the Europeans. Liberia is a net contributor. We got 40% of the forest in West Africa in our country. And so because of that, we're actually helping the world. We're helping with greenhouse gases because of our rainforest. And we need to be compensated for that. I believe we get paid for some money today, but I don't know if it's enough. Something I need to find out. So I think as Liberians, of course, we are impacted by climate change. We got to do our share, but Liberians should know we are not the culprits here. The big economies that are the culprits here, and we actually, as a small country, we're contributing even more in terms of the positives than we perhaps are given credit for. So that was climate change COP26. And on tax collections, yes, look, we got to get more effective, more efficient in collecting taxes. We can't be harassing people on the roads and on the streets for tax collection purposes.
But
So
how do you do it when you have not compliance?
So it's not a simple answer. First of all, Chris, we gotta go to a national ID card system where, you know, all your tax payment, you want to get married, you want to get a passport, you want to vote, all of this should be tied to a national ID card system, right? So we know, Liberians know where you are, where you're employed, right? And then we can start to become more efficient in how we, you know, collect taxes and not harass people. We got to revisit the whole tax and regulatory environment to make sure it's effective, it's efficient, and we're not letting some people go and taxing other people, right? And that's something, again, not a simple answer. But to answer this question specifically, we shouldn't be harassing people on the streets for tax collection. There's got to be, and we can use technology as well to help us in the tax collection piece. There's a question about the framework agreement, and I'm glad the caller asked that question. And let me address this in several ways. First of all, let me emphatically say we did not alter the framework agreement. And let me say, you know, shame on my colleagues, and Liberian people should listen to this, that we certified the CPP with our framework agreement. They all celebrated the certification. We went to elections in December. We won seats based on our framework agreement. And it's been over a year before these so-called allegations came up. So where were they over the last year?
Maybe they have not seen it.
But they were at the meetings when the lawyers presented it to us. Mm-hmm. We signed the agreement. So, you know, kind of sort of shame on them, if you will, for where these allegations. Mm-hmm. But these allegations are untrue, and they owe me an apology for trying to malign me and cast aspersions at me. But this is the way forward, because this is about we are where we are. Yes, for maligning my.
But your colleague Joe Barker said you should take responsibility.
He owes me an apology for making that statement, because Joe knows we did not alter any agreement. And when asked the question, what did we alter specifically, he has not answered that question. And then when you alter something, it should give you an advantage. You don't steal just to steal, you steal for food or for money. So what in the agreement that gave me an advantage over Joe, or over Benedict, or over Yomli? What did I change that ANC or Alexander Cummings has some advantage in the CPA? Nothing. But look, this is the way forward. We are where we are. Yeah. I'm recommending that we get some independent Liberians from reputable people. Let them come and do the investigation. So not people from the ANC, not people from the UP. Let's get, and they're independent, they're credible Liberians.
But a reputable section of your membership, the lawyers did the investigation. So why are you calling for the investigation again?
But okay, well, this is what the lawyers said though. Mm-hmm. The lawyers said that they, and you should read it. I mean, you're a reporter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're a journalist, mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. The lawyers, the lawyers said mm-hmm. that they took the agreement we gave them and they made changes to the agreement. They said that in the report. Mm-hmm. And they said they reviewed it with us. They said that in the report, right? So they said both, mm-hmm. right? And yet, these allegations are still being made. So it's clear that my other colleagues don't accept the lawyers' findings. So that's why we should get some independent people now, so we can put this to bed once and for all, so the CPP can move forward, right? And I hope when Joe comes back, that's what we talk about.
But this has distracted you guys.
It has. It's the only
your supporters.
The only person that has benefited from all of this stuff is the We Are led government, because we've been focusing on this stuff and we haven't been calling them out for the inadequacies. We have been calling them out for the suffering of Liberian people. And so Mr. President is the only beneficiary of this, all of this squabble. And we need to put it behind us so the CPP can move forward. So I'm looking forward to Joe's return. And again, my recommendation is let's get some third-party independent people, let them come and review it and let them see exactly what happened there. Mm-hmm. Somebody asked about how I would grade this government. again, I think the MCC is a good indication of their performance. This government has failed the Liberian people, and is manifested in the fact that our people are struggling, they are suffering. And I think the grade is clear, they have actually failed our people. There was a question about, and I understand Liberians are jaded because you get people in opposition, they say all the right things, and then when they get to power, they do nothing, right? Or don't do anything different.
Yeah.
When I say to Liberians, you gotta look at somebody's past behavior and past performance to predict future behavior and future performance. And so I'm happy to put my past record of performance up against anybody, and it should give you a good indication. If somebody was good in the past, chances are they'll be good in the future. If they managed large, complex organizations in the past, they will do in the future. And the other thing I want to say to Liberians is that it's not about replacing one individual with another individual. It's about fixing the whole system. The system has not worked. Liberians are 174 years old. We are among the poorest countries in the world. So we gotta fix the system. We gotta replace the system. We gotta change many things. And I keep saying you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. And we as individuals gotta do things differently, and as a country, we gotta do things differently if we want to change and fix our country. There was a question about young people. The caller is right. 65% of Liberians are under 35. Many things we gotta do. Young people want jobs. And for them to get good, sustainable jobs, we gotta provide them training, education, vocational training. One of the things we need to do, we need to start a national youth service program to start engaging our young people right away. And that's something that, Cummings, CP-led government will invest in our young people, will create jobs, provide training for our young people, because again, everything we do got to be focused on.
Let's give a little bit of definition to what you term as national youth service, like what, letting them to go out into the community to serve.
Yeah, so we'll create like a group to focus on education, a group to focus on healthcare, a group to focus on agriculture. We can create brigades. We'll give them stipends. We'll make sure we take care of all the logistics. So if you're a young person in Cape Mount, we might send you to Maryland. A young person from Lofa, we might send you to Sino to work in these different areas. We'll design a program so we can start engaging our young people right away. Other countries in West Africa, by the way, in Africa have national youth service programs. We can learn from them. We can adjust it to fit our needs, but we need to invest in the young people. And that's a relatively quick way to start to address some of the challenges faced by our young people. And those are some examples of what we'll do in that area. The other question was about, again, the economy and printing money. I think we covered that. We talked about that. But one of the other things we should be doing is, Chris, we should be, again, using technology, using mobile money, encouraging the use of debit cards and credit cards. So we build confidence in the banking system so that we're not running around with all of these dollar bills. The world is using technology. The world is changing. We should encourage the use of mobile money, of credit cards or debit cards. So again, that's another way you can reduce the opportunity to steal by using technology. It can provide check and balances. And again, other countries on the continent, so not just the Western countries, are leveraging technology, like using mobile money, using credit cards, debit cards, as some ways of minimizing the need to print all of this currency. A lot of the currency, is not in the banking system, and the government admits this. It is not this government's fault per se. The question is, what are they doing to restore confidence in the banking system, to introduce technology so that we can reduce, the amount of actual cash flowing around? And so those are some of the things we'll take a look at. And then there were other,
other calls were
complimentary. Yeah. And we thank people for the complimentary calls, but no need to
So
speak to them.
As we getting close to the closure of this show, let me ask you this question: what's your position on this 5% ownership or equity in the Liberian oil that is so controversial? And the story is that 5% to each Liberian direct deposit, but overnight it's changed into 5%.
Yeah, Chris, again, I'm glad you asked that one. This is where, again, this government is actually cheating the Liberian people. As you said, original law, I think it was 2014. And I'm trying to explain to our people so they understand that 5% equity will be given basically to the Liberian people, to a citizens fund. Maybe think about it as a susu. That money was supposed to be put in a susu for everybody to benefit, the entire country to benefit. That was the law that was passed. And they changed it quietly to say that 5% will go to individual Liberian businesses. So many to individuals, it could be groups of people, but they're taking it from this susu that everybody benefit from to giving it to a handful of businesses and individuals. That is wrong. That should not be. The resources of Liberia should benefit all of the Liberian people, not just a few. These are some of the things we need to change, Chris. That the resources of our country should benefit the Liberian people, and no one particular group, no one few people, and effectively, that's what this change. And we should also ask the question. And on this one, I don't have the answer yet, but I will develop an answer. Is 5% enough? Should the number be higher? You know, I'm not saying it should be enough, people. I want to ask the question, and I want to figure it out.
It seems
low.
low.
Get a team. It seems low to me, and maybe it's okay. But we need to study. We need to ask the question: should it be 10%? Should it be 15, 20? I don't know. I'm not. But we need to ask that question. But for sure, it should benefit the entire country and not just a few people. That I'm very clear on, and the Liberian people should be very clear on that.
Okay, yes, Mike.
Yeah, maybe a final question from my side.
Yeah.
Mr. Cummings, should we continue to celebrate Thanksgiving with all of our shortcomings, especially we've just failed to benefit from the MCC's assistance?
Yeah, look, Magdalene, you know, celebrating Thanksgiving is not just for what happens in the moment. We got to thank God individually for our good health, for being alive, you know, for the country we have. With all the challenges, sometimes I think we're too hard on ourselves. We're too hard on us as Liberians. So there are many other things we should be thankful for in life, small things, big things. And so I don't think that's something we should abandon, just reacting to the current situation. The current suffering in our country will pass. We are resilient people. We are tough people. And I believe over time we'll get through this difficult period. We should believe in ourselves. And when, not if, when we replace President Weah, when we make him a one-term president, and we elect a good group of people, not just a person. Again, we got to think about this more holistically. Liberian lives will improve, and we got to have that faith. We got to claim it as a country, as a people. We got to thank God for all of our blessings, whatever they might be, big or small. And so, Magdalene, no, we should not celebrate Thanksgiving.
Okay, so Chief, take this question, please. This one, December, next month, CP to have a ticket. Where are we, from your perspective, from the ANC perspective? Can we hit the jackpot at consensus, or there are signs on the wall that we have to go to primary?
I think signs are on the wall that we have to go to primary. And that's not a bad thing, you know. Competition is not a bad thing. Sometimes I think as a country, as a people, and this is one of the things I think we need to change, my fellow Liberians, is that compromise is not a bad thing, but sometimes we compromise at the lowest common denominator. And I said this in the studio before, that we need to push ourselves more, push each other in a positive way, not tear each other down, push each other, push the system, you know, and let's rather than compromising at a low level, let's compromise at a high level. And so I think we'll go to a primary, and as I said before, we've got to respect the outcome of the primary. If the former vice president wins the primary, we will support the outcome of the process. If I win the primary, I hope he will support me. But I think it's likely that's what will happen. The ANC.
But you always been conditional. You always said it should be, you were accepted. That means it was free and fair.
But it should be
free.
But it should be free and fair, though. And what I've also said that I'm not looking for a perfect process. There's no perfection in these processes, right? But if we closely follow within 70-80% what we agreed, free and fair, and then of course we got to accept the outcome of that process. But the ANC continues to be committed, you know, to the CPP. To answer your question, I think we'll go to a primary convention, and then we all should accept the outcome of that process.
Okay, so we can't wait to see that primary and the 3 stages. What voter perception, which is not binding, and consensus, then primary. There are all indications, according to Mr. Cummings, that they are headed to primary. And let's wish the best candidate the good luck. Chief, thank you so much for coming to the end of this media interaction. This is exactly 1 hour since we started.
So if I may say a few
Yes,
closing words. First of all, let me thank you, Chris Magdalene, for the opportunity to have this discussion. Let me just say to your listeners that, we deserve a better Liberia. Where our country is today is not where it should be. But for us to get a better Liberia, we got to do many things differently. I remind Liberians that Liberia will not change because we talk it. Liberia will not change because we wish it. Liberia will change because we're prepared to do the work and make the sacrifices to change our country. I believe with the right leadership, we can encourage our people, we can inspire our people, we can work together to change our country so that every Liberian can benefit. I remind our people that we can't keep doing the same things and expect different results. That is true in our individual lives, and that's true in our national life. We got to do many things differently to improve our country. I remind our people that the suffering we're facing affects all. Doesn't care whether you're a man or you're a woman, whether you're Christian or you're Muslim, whether you're young or you're old, whether you're Gola, Gil, Loma, Gribo, Kran, Mano, Fai, it doesn't matter. We are all suffering. And by the way, we don't choose where we're born or our tribe. We don't choose when we're born, so we don't choose whether we're young and old. We don't choose our gender, whether we're man or woman. We don't choose what religion we're born into. We can change it, but we don't choose what we're born into. So those things should not divide us. Those things should not give us an advantage, one or the other, or a disadvantage, because it's not a choice. And this is why whatever we do for our country gotta benefit all of us, gotta benefit all Liberians. And so we need to unify, we need to reconcile, so we can move our country forward and do things differently. But we've gotta be prepared to do the work, to make the sacrifices, and not talk it. And I know we can do this. I believe in our country, I believe in our people, and if we work together, we make the sacrifice, we can change Liberia and everybody can benefit. So thank you again for the opportunity. Look forward to future interactions. And I'm sure I'll see you before Christmas because I'm looking for my Christmas from you, Chris and Magdalene.
We'll spend it on the farm. Okay, thank you to Mr. Asif Atupa for cooperating with our office, State of the Nation, to have you on the maiden edition or the first time appearance on State of the Nation. And to Spoon, it is always said the age of Methuselah has nothing to do with the wisdom of Solomon. Very new in the industry, but has made a mark. Thank you so much. Greetings to your CEO and the folks at Spoon TV. And Real TV Sam and the folks behind the camera. Magdalene, thank you so much for handling the technical aspect of this presentation. My name is Christopher Kolubasi Afaseli, and we're taking a sign off. Tomorrow is a special edition, 36 years down the line since November 12, 1985, abortive coup. Thank you so much for listening and watching.